Right, welcome back. This is the After Credits podcast. We've been a year away, and we're not going to take questions. Why? Because it's my fault. So, yes, I don't know what episode number this is because, like I say, it's been over a year now. I think.
It's a reboot.
So,
it's a reboot. Doesn't matter what
well,
episode we're on.
The Lion King did it. We can fucking do it.
True.
Yep. So, the day we are doing our comeback episode, and we're basically mopping up all the shit we've missed since we've been away. So, welcome. And I think we're going to talk about a few of the. We've each selected a few films that since September 1st, 2023, up until today, which is the 12th of July, 2024. So, in between those two dates, we're selecting a bunch of films. About 3. We've got a few spares just in case we double up because each of us don't know what the other one's picked. So, to keep time down, we're picking 3 each, and we're just going to talk about them freely. So, take us away, Brandon. Brandon.
All right, I'll start then. So, let's see. Right, so essentially, I've picked 5, but we're picking 3 each. So let's start.
And then we'll see how time goes. The audience will know if the video's fucking long, if we've overrun, or if we're doing 5.
Right, screw it. This might be on one of your guys' ones, but I'm just gonna let's talk about Apes, boys. Let's talk about Apes. Let's talk about Apes.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
No, it's the best one to talk about.
Right, take us away then.
Right, so I think I've got the. It's funny because I'm the one that picked it. Yeah, I'm probably the one that likes it the least out of the 3 of us, so that's kind of weird.
Spoilers.
Let's just talk about it, So, pretty much, it came out April? I think it was April. April or May.
Start of April.
Yeah, and essentially, I don't know. So it takes place like is it 100 years or what? Like again, it's kind of.
It's a couple of centuries. It's like generations. Yeah, it's a good few generations after.
Yes. So essentially, to start off with, the freaking CGI is freaking brilliant, as per usual.
On a lower budget, if I'm right.
On a lower budget than I think the last 2. I don't think it was lower than the first one.
No.
But definitely the last 2. And still looks just as good, so that's props to them. For me, I don't know, I still enjoy it, but I think it's the least best out of all of them. I'm not going to say it's the worst out of the 4 because I like all 4 of them, but for me, it just does the least. But it's got the most potential to go forward. I'm totally down to see the new ones. But yeah, so it's I guess just as a starting point, what did you guys like about it more than the first one? Because I know you both like it more than Rise, right?
Well,
is that correct?
Coming out of the cinema, I said no, and then I watched Rise not long after we'd seen Kingdom, and I thought I actually did enjoy Kingdom. I think there's the cracks kind of show a little bit in Rise now that it's a bit older. Not just CG and stuff like that, I guess, but yeah, I mean, I think there's issues with both films, to be honest, but yeah, I think recently it's my ranking's basically 2, 3, 4, 1 at the moment of the new ones, but number 1 is still an 8 out of 10 film.
Well, that's what I mean. We're talking about worst, but the worst one, no matter what, it's a 7 or 8. So it's there's still some high bar we've got here.
These aren't crap films.
Not to say this film does have major issues, I think, as well, especially with human characters. I think the biggest flaw.
I think that's the worst about all of the films is humans in this. Even though the actors are really good, they're just not interesting at all.
I think you're right, and the problem is that the woman, I forget her name, but the woman in this film, she became interesting at the very end of the film.
Yeah.
Which is maybe they've got plans for her going ahead, and they seem to, and maybe that's what that was leading on to, is this this is the first act of a 3-part trilogy, Several Things Working film. So it could just be that this was settling into the first act, get to know your Noahs and your Rakas, because he's not dead, and maybe just sweep the humans under the rug because they'll come back into it later. But like, she was pretty weak that whole film, and then at the very end when she's got the gun behind her back, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then it goes fade to black, and I'm like, oh right, okay, that's a shame.
The interesting thing I like about it is the dynamic between them again going forward. It's not necessarily their dynamic during the film. It's more about what are these two going to do together next film and the film after that? Because it feels like they're going to be the representatives for the human and ape races, right?
Yeah.
But it's like you're rooting for both because obviously, we're humans and we relate to that. But also we freaking back the apes as well. So it's like, well, what do you want?
And
yeah.
Well, on you go.
I was just going to say, like, do you want to do I was just going to mention my top positive and then my biggest negative.
Do like general, very positives, very negatives. Yeah.
So I was going to say my biggest positive, which was pretty much throughout the film, was the whole religious almost aspect of it, of like Caesar being Jesus almost, where he's like this like religious ancient figure that people have like taken his words into different meanings from different clans and stuff like that. So it's like you've got Raka, who's like he feels like he's more of like traditional, like he's more like he's sticking to the original meaning of Caesar's words, like apes together strong, whatever. But then you've got Proximus, who takes those words as oh no, we need to be like better than humans. We need to be like we need to overthrow everyone else, because if we're not together, then we're gonna fall, kind of thing. So I love that whole aspect of it.
Yeah, I think
because that's real. But like we've got Christianity, and there's all different like texts towards that one religion. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's the one religion, but you know what I mean. Like it's all different versions of the same sort of story.
Well, that's I would agree with you. That's definitely one of the highlights. Is the whole like misinterpretation of a hero.
Yeah. But it makes sense because, like you said, it's been generations, so obviously things are going to get muddled up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
people are going to interpret things differently.
There's that for one, which I like, and actually I think the scene where they reveal that with Proximus's like clan are like, oh, for Caesar, and they've just like ransacked this village. That's a great way of like introducing that concept, like with the shock value.
And then you get Rucka, who then puts his take on it. That's more like, oh, that's the Caesarino. That's what we've learned.
It's also, I guess, like implied that it's like that's descended from Maurice's teachings of probably what Caesar was. I guess because they're both orangutans, and he's kind of like he has a similar like because Maurice had like a similar like necklace, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Things like that. But also, I think it does well with, because obviously a big thing going into these films is like, well, and if you've got that fucking troll in the comments, this is his reaction was, oh, well, if it's hundreds of years later, how can we be about Caesar? Caesar's dead. And that's obviously like plays into this, right?
Yeah.
But they do it in a good way where I think they've had the benefit of not making Caesar look bad by all these sprouting like ideologies, because Caesar obviously died before he had a chance to like put forward his legacy. All the other films were just about him trying to get basically to the promised land, right? Get free of humanity. He never had a chance to like think about his legacy, and now other people are thinking about his legacy. So it's not like it's not even bad reflections on Caesar, because he never had a say in his legacy. And that's like this is like a really good way of putting that forward in time. I really like that.
And I'm much more for this version than a version of it being, oh, there's different clans that support Caesar and there's other clans that support Koba. Because I'm like, that's over. That ended like in the trilogy. You know what I mean? Like I like this whole Caesar's thing. But yeah. Anyway, so just I'll say my biggest negative, and that's probably it's a running issue with the whole series, but like I think the title kind of misrepresents the film, because like they're saying Kingdom of the Apes, and I just didn't see a kingdom. Like I see a clan that's got like a king, and even then that's a stretch. So it's like I was hoping to see like this new, society. And I know we got the little clans, but that's what I mean. We're only seeing like little divots of families
Kingdom,
or whatever.
Kingdom kind of brings up like grandeur or something, right?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
I personally think it was due to like either two issues. One, where they're like waiting to show it in the next films, and like you're seeing it a bit more, or they just didn't have the budget to do it. and actually show it?
I don't know. It didn't feel like a budget. I mean, it could be a budget problem. You could be right, but it felt more like a stylistic thing of like, oh, this is what Proximus owns. Whereas I think, like you say, Kingdom kind of brings to mind more like grandiose, like larger society, something. Yeah. Like, because obviously, like you say, he was technically a king, so like Kingdom, it does work, but like it's not as satisfying as like the title gives off.
We're on a shipwreck the whole film. Like, it's hardly
Yeah,
a Kingdom.
it's quite. It's well, and that's the hard thing is like these films operate well because they keep it quite close knit, right?
Yeah, which isn't a complaint. It's just like go, and it's the same complaint a lot of people have with war. It's because people were expecting this massive war, but that's not really what you get. It's more of like a prison break bully movie.
Yeah.
But I love that film. That's probably my favorite one. So it's like for some reason I don't have the same issue, but I think it's because I was looking forward to seeing this new society, and I just didn't get that. But
No, that's
I mean,
fair.
at the end of the day, we all love the film, so it's not like it's not like any of us are having major issues with it. But
we're here to point out its issues, so
Well,
exactly.
that's what we do.
Can I point out what I think is the biggest issue?
Go ahead.
The main character's name. I stand by it. It's the biggest issue of the film.
That's your biggest issue with the film. No one else
Yeah.
gives a rat's ass.
I've not heard anyone else. I've not heard anyone else complain.
It's my new hot take.
No, I do remember something you said though, and I think you were onto something before, and it's not the name; it's the species of ape. I think it would have been better just to change it up a little bit and like change the species of ape.
Yep.
Because he does look a bit too much like Caesar. Like we all said that.
Well,
so it's kind of hard to like. Obviously, we're big fans, so we know which one's Caesar, which one's Noah. But like they are very similar looking, and it's not intentional because they're not related or anything as of yet. So we don't know. So yeah, I think that was a good point that you brought up.
Because like I forget his friend, what his friend was called.
That's another big issue for me. Is that all the other characters aren't memorable.
Well,
not only that, but the side characters kind of dip in at the start, like dip out, and then dip back in right at the end. There's not a lot in between.
Like Rucka and Proximus are the two like standouts. Easily as well.
But what I was going to say is like he the friend, the one who's like he's too scared to climb at the end, and then he comes and joins them. He was such a like I thought he was the best looking, like CGI wise, and most interesting looking to look at. But like he had such little screen time, and I'm like, see if they made like Noah in his body ape thing. I would have totally preferred that because again, Noah is just like he looks like a side character or an extra, but he's the main character. While like the side character looked like the main character, it was really weird.
Yeah.
And like I still really liked it, but I'm like, why does he look the best?
Yeah.
And Noah looks like I don't know.
It's been a long time, so I can't even disagree with you. But I get your point though. Yeah.
So any other points from Apes? We're just gonna
under positives and negatives. Roberts is just Noah. Under negatives.
No. Positives. No. Positives.
Have you got
positives. Positive. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous film. I loved every single ape in it. I didn't have an issue with any of the apes. I thought the main character was a really nice new take of a main character because like with Caesar, he was very much your like white knight with an attitude, like a grumpy attitude, but he's still a white knight. But with like Noah, there was that kind of like, but why do I not kill apes? Why should I not do this if they're doing this? And I thought it was like a really interesting because it wasn't like Koba where you just went like full on like just killing people. But it was like he deliberately didn't save, that.
Well, yeah, he had prejudices from how he'd been raised and stuff.
Yeah, and in his point of view, like he's never heard of Caesar until he raided his bloody village. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's why I think it's so good because it was just a new, like, fresh take of this Planet of the Apes, and I also really liked the whole Eagle clan. I thought that was
Yes.
brilliant.
Yeah, it was cool.
But I also have an issue to counteract that. Is my one problem with that is he tries to sing to the eagle once, and it doesn't work, and then at the end he sings to it, and then the eagles like come to him, but it didn't feel.
I think it's I think this is part of the same problem as like the side characters dipping out, is that you get the first act of the Eagle Clan and his friends, then he leaves, you get the whole second act of him in like the new land, and then at the end those two things kind of merge, but or towards this end of the second act where you have enough like satisfying moments to develop the stuff from the first act.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes under basically everything in the first act.
Yeah.
Because one of my big highlights is the very end of the film. The bit where they take down Proximus. That scene alone was great. I just wish it had more build-up, a better build-up. That would have been even more like satisfying. But I really loved that scene. And actually, I really liked the first act as well. I thought the intro was great. I don't know, I was really into it. Like the way and because it's July and Star Wars Acolyte is premiering at this point. One of my major issues, I won't go into that because you bet your ass we have a whole fucking series of that coming up. But one of my major issues with that is that the world building, I think, is just so poor with like establishing that how this is different from what we've seen before. Whereas this film does that really well in the first like 20 minutes, I feel like, because it's like you're just with this little group and you don't know what the rituals are, but you know that they need to get this egg, and then like you're seeing them solve problems and how they interact and getting their character. You're getting all that without any dialogue, which is like what these films do really well.
Yeah.
And the way they build up the Eagle Clan and make you kind of root for them, even though you know something's probably going to go wrong, is really well done. And it does it in like 20, 30 minutes. Like I say, and like Acolytes had like 7 episodes in its pish. So world building wise, in my opinion. So I think the world building and like introducing your characters in the first like 20, 30 minutes was done really well in this film as well.
Yeah, no, it was. It was, sorry. 100%.
Any final thoughts on
8 out of 10. 8 out of 10, I think.
8 out of 10? I'd probably go a bit higher. I'd probably go 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this one.
I'm 7 out of 7.
7, fair enough.
That's just because comparing to other things I've seen, it's like it just doesn't stand out as much.
I can't tell you you're wrong either, because I only give this one a 9 because the other two are like 9.5s basically.
Yeah.
I'm pretty.
We love them all. We love them all.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I'm always having like a midlife crisis of like, is Lord of the Rings my favorite franchise, or is this my favorite? Planet of the Apes my favorite franchise? You know?
And just to finish off, did you guys go into this film because I went into this film expecting it to be worse than the trilogy. I was going in expecting disappointment, and the fact that it stood up to the other ones, maybe not as good, but stood like side by side with it, I'm like, okay, they can have a pass. You know what I mean? Like they managed to pull it off.
Absolutely. I had a lot of issues because the director and writers were different, so I was quite worried about that going into it. But then, like you said,
like Matt Reeves, right, isn't involved, stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's also nice to get like a bit of fresh
absolutely,
perspective, you know. And we learned that it was a nice, refreshing sort of thing. You know?
That's the thing. I agree. It's a good thing. It's just in this current climate of changing hands with films, it doesn't always go well. So
because it's
but
like
saying that, like Matt Reeves didn't direct the first film, so it's like
that's true.
It's always kind of done that. So
I think the guys who wrote the first film were involved, right, in all 3. But
I think so.
So there was always that kind of through line. But to sum up, generally positive on that film. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
What a wonderful day!
Yeah, what a wonderful day.
What a wonderful day.
So, I don't know what the next film is on somebody's list, but Robert, you got another film for us?
Okay, are you ready for this? The Creator.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
The Creator. Now I know you guys didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but I thought that was the best film of 23.
Really?
Personally. Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was. I found 23 had a lot of really good films, you know, like we had Barbie, Oppenheimer, we had what else came out? I
Killers
know
of the Flower Moon?
Ironclaw, Killers of the Flower Moon. We had Leave the World Behind.
Five Nights at
Teenage
Freddy's.
Ninja Mutant Turtle. No, that doesn't count. Like, we had a lot of films, but like for me, The Creator was just. It was one of those films where it was like it was just your stereotypical hero story, but there was this like nice, like refreshing, but also like I, I felt that I was watching something completely different, and I wasn't bored at all, and like the cinematography and the CGI and like the world building and the way that everything looked, I was just like start to end. It felt like the movie just was a minute. Like, oh, I was just totally involved, engrossed. And absolutely, and it was just like I loved every second of that movie, and I thought the acting, especially from the kid, was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I don't know. I'm not really like a cyberpunky, like robotic, like dystopian fan.
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, it's a hit or miss with me. But like, it just the second it started to the second it ended, it just completely had me, and I hadn't had a film like that in a while. So I honestly, it was like a 9 for me, easy peasy.
Okay. Fair enough. I didn't realize you thought so highly of it. Is it like,
yeah, man.
I knew you liked it, but I didn't realize it was your favorite film for last year. But so I'll be kind to it.
Oh well, I crap on your favorite film of last year. So
I'm not gonna go. Fuck you. I'm not gonna go easy on it because you like it. But I'm not gonna go hard on it either because I actually enjoyed the film as well. But this falls in the same category as like the first Avatar, without the nostalgia for me. Where like this is Gareth Edwards' version of Avatar. I feel like where the story's not gonna blow you away. I guess it's not really supposed to.
Yeah.
But he's taking you through this world with a guy, just like one guy and like a companion that are kind of just meandering his way through this world. And I all the world building I really like pretty much on the whole. Especially for the budget of $90 million or whatever it was around that.
That's the big take. That is the big point. Yeah.
Like you
cover your children's ears. That is fucking mad. Like especially when we've had a lot of films. We might come on to it later. For example, like
Indiana
the Marvels
Jones,
or Indiana Jones. Yeah. And it's like, right, okay, yeah, what's going on here? This is clearly like some money scheme, but or Disney's just shit with their money. But yeah, for $90 million, this film is fucking mad. Because it's almost flawless, the whole film, I think. And that's a big thing, especially with CG nowadays. It's hard to pull off, even on a high budget. Like, I think the only films that have really pulled it off for me where there's a lot of CGI happening, or overt CG happening, because obviously you have things like Mad Max where it's like, oh, there's loads of CG. Yeah, fair enough, there's loads of CG, but you don't notice it, right? That's what's good about it. But this is kind of done the same way, where it's like, maybe not even the same way, but there's a lot of CG in this, but it all looks really good. There's maybe only a couple instances where you're taking out a little bit, but on the whole, it looks pretty flawless the whole time. Which, you know what I mean? And it's not like this film holds back either. There's a lot going on visually. So it's really, really impressive for $90 million. And it's a shame that I don't think it did all too well beyond that $90 million.
Yeah. And nobody really talked about it either. So it's just a shame that I can't imagine there being a sequel or anything like that.
But
not that it needs to have one, but like
no, it doesn't need to happen.
It could have been like, but it's like we're all sick of these franchises, right? But it's also nice to have like a new franchise like Dune, where it's like, oh look, it's something new to like get into, you know, like Avatar as well. It's like it's just something new rather than the same old Star Wars, Marvel stuff. Even though I like those things, it's like just give me something new. Creator could have been that, but unfortunately, it's just it didn't get that attention that we were hoping it would.
This might be like a cult classic, you know, like films that would come out on DVD, or maybe this is going to get some legs on streaming, and maybe they'll pick it up a bit like Furiosa did. Although, don't do what Furiosa did because it's also lost money. But yeah, I think I'm with you on that as well. Like the new IPs, really, it's interesting because it's like kind of the marketing made it look like Star Wars, but when you're in the film, it's not Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like And speaking of the marketing, the trailer was fucking banging, and the film was pretty good as well, and that's rare. Because actually, a lot of the best films on this list, or my list anyway, had really, really bad trailers. So whoever's like Dune 2 especially, that trailer was fucking shocking. So whoever made that trailer, I'm sorry, but like that was bad, especially for the quality of the film that came out of that. That was bad. But yeah, this is a good trailer, good film. I don't really have too much else to say because it is a bit like I'll enjoy this film if it's on, but I'm not gonna like rush to see it again. But it's good. It's good eye candy, and I think it's a bit more. It is a little bit more than just eye candy. But I think that's the main draw, is that it just looks really fucking cool for me.
Well, that's what I said. Like it is just your typical hero story. Like there's no twists and turns in it. Like you're getting a cheese sandwich. You know what you're about to eat, but it
that doesn't mean a grilled cheese sandwich doesn't taste fucking good.
Exactly, and you're biting into heaven.
See, we're not film bros. We like Tarantino, but we're not like pretentious as shit. We can just like Avatar and shit, bro.
We've also watched The Bear, so we're not a big food.
Oh yeah, we watched The Bear, so now we're
pretentious.
Bro, I keep walking behind people in the shops, being like, behind.
Corner. I was going to say, I think like I'll start with a negative point first. Is that there was a film, I think it was in 2022. Robert will remember it, that I really loved, called Reminiscence, right? Hugh Jackman, Rebecca Ferguson. At the time, I loved that film. I would say it was like a 9 out of 10 at the time. But as time's gone on, I've honestly kind of forgot about it, and I feel like Creator's going to be that as well down the line. Like right now, it's kind of like, even now, like I don't remember any characters' names. It's like, it's like I can't say the same for other films that we've seen this year. So there's going to be stuff like I can't even remember most of the story. I just remember vague parts of it, but I remember liking it. That's the thing, But yeah, so I feel like it's going to be one of those films that people do kind of forget about, but that's also because people didn't talk about it at the time. So it's just like, there's nothing carried it to get in the spotlight. I can't remember what else came out around that time, so I don't know if anything else was kind of overshadowing it or not. I can't remember. But yeah, so I think that's like my negative thing, is that I don't remember too much about the film, even though I do remember liking it, because I remember coming in and being like, I was banging. Yeah, I'll save my big positive for after. Is there any like negative parts you guys remember? Or I remember the other one, Ryan, but I don't want to.
Yeah, in general, I think you've just reminded me of it actually. But I'm, and this is a thing with films in general. Is I had a really good example earlier, but I forgot. Is I don't like it when films bring in like too many concepts at once, and this film kind of did that a little bit, where like there was the scene where the guy dies and she brings him back to life for like 30 seconds, and then he just like withers away again, and I'm like, the technology is really cool, and like the robots are really cool, but bringing people back to life, that's like a totally different thing. Like, I don't know, it's a bit nitpicky, but
I personally, I thought that was interesting because it wasn't anything of like, it's just he was just a robot. Like they were just bringing back his memory really quick, and then it just like died, like malfunctioned. It wasn't like anything like bringing back like a human being.
I think that's maybe just more a difference of point of view, because when I came across that, when I was watching that scene, I was like, the pessimist part of me was like, oh, this is because the writer hasn't figured out how they're going to follow the trail. So this guy has to die and they have to bring him back so that like they can get the clue to go follow the guy. So my kind of pessimist brain was a bit like, oh, as a writer, that's been a problem and they've had to fix it that way, rather than like, oh, that's cool world building.
Well, I guess I'm not a writer. Like I'm not a writer, so like in my head, in my head, I just went, oh, that's a really like interesting, just short, like, oh, this is something our technology, like where the technology is, and I just thought it was like a nice, quick, and easy like scene to show us.
Keep that little nitpick in the back of your mind, because it will come into my next film I'm going to talk about actually.
No, I take my nitpick back. I agree
But
with what you said.
I won't be talking. I'll let us finish this film first.
To add on to that point, I think it's like, what was I going to say? I don't like parts in films where it feels like you kind of alluded it, like you just added it to get an answer, but I don't like it because you don't use it again. Like it's just literally there just to fix something in the moment, and then all right, then we'll just never talk about that again, as if it's like if it was just nothing. It's like, but as a viewer, it's like that's like a big deal. Like the fact you can just do that, and the fact you never get to like delve into that again. It feels like something like if there was sequels, they would be like that would be more of a focus. Like, well, let's delve into this part of the
Yeah.
lore or something like that. But like if you compare it to like Star Wars, like the main part's the Force, right? That's the mythical, that's like the weird kooky thing they add in the movie. But within the Force, you have all these different abilities, right? So for example, Obi-Wan's like the whole mind control. You don't really see too much of that again in that film, right? So it's like that's just like one little ability they just throw out there, and everyone's like, wait a minute, you can do that, kind of thing. So I can maybe compare it to that, where it's like it's not that big of a deal. We just take that for granted because they've done that so many times throughout the franchise, where it's normal. But yeah, I don't know. I would have liked a little bit more as well, but yeah, I mean, do you want to go on a big positive or?
I think those are like very decent points though to make. Like because for example, bringing back Star Wars, like in Phantom Menace when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon do that little sprint, and then they never sprint again.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the flip? Like, if they just did this and this, like,
Classic.
so like I totally get that. The point you
Yeah,
guys are
and
making.
I think that's just the thing, is maybe it's a personal preference. You know, some people might be okay with that, some people not.
Because like,
Well, but that's like a flaw though, right? In general, right? Because I think when you add too many abilities like that, you then realize, oh, you're a bit too OP. And I'm just not talking about Star Wars. I'm talking about just in any franchise where it's like you have so many tools to use at your disposal. So it's like when you can just bring people back to life like that, it's like, well, surely that's going to be a bit that'll break some stuff in the future. Obviously, we're probably not going to get sequels. Doesn't matter. But in the moment, that's what I'm thinking. But
well, that's fair.
I mean, at the end of the day, we all liked the film. I remember giving it like a really high score.
Yeah, I'd have given it probably a high score coming out of it as well. Do you think? I forget his name. Washington. What's his first name? He's Denzel Washington's son, right?
Yeah.
I really like him, and I like him in Tenet. I know you haven't seen Tenet, Brandon, but
I love them in Tenet.
Do you think he's kind of the same character in this film as he's in Tenet?
No.
I think he has more to do in this film. Like, he's obviously more stoic in Tenet and more clueless.
Yeah.
But in this film, I don't know. I kind of got that he was a bit just like kind of the same vibe. He obviously had the kid to deal with, which he didn't in Tenet. But and that gives him a lot more. That gives him the kind of Logan or like Joel kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that Mando. Yeah. We're getting loads of it nowadays. But and I like it. But I did feel like maybe he just, I don't know. I don't feel like he got enough either to like go a bit further. I felt like he just felt like the same, like kind of the same guy from Tenet as well.
That's fair. I personally never picked that up. But then again, I might just be coming from I was totally engrossed in it, so I was not using my brain cells on anything but the film.
Not necessarily a problem, because I like both those films. I actually like the characters in both films, but it's just something I thought.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair.
But final call for positives, negatives on.
What's your film, Robert? What would you?
My positive personally was just it, like Ryan said, like the Avatar film. This film, you sat there and you watched it, and it was just beautiful. I just thought it was the best looking film of that year, and I just loved every second of it. The only thing I would say that was bad about the film, even though I don't think it's bad at all, was like the hero, like the story. Like it was just simple. Like there wasn't anything.
It was yearning for a bit more. Because
Like,
everything else felt kind of unique or like a fresh take.
Yeah.
It's a shame that the story didn't do something similar, I think.
But at the same time, I'm not annoyed about that. So
No, I get that.
But that, for me, that was probably the weakest thing about the film. But yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I'm going to kind of cheat here, and I'm going to like half talk about two films, but they're majorly related. So call this my fucking Godzilla essay, because we're talking about Godzilla -1, which is a banging fucking film,
Oh,
and
are we talking
Godzilla
about...
X Kong, which is a fucking shite film. I'm not a big fan of Godzilla, honestly. I've never been a big fan of kaiju films. I like Pacific Rim. I've seen it like twice. I've seen the Godzilla 2014 once, probably. I haven't seen many of the other like Monsterverse ones. I haven't watched the series. I just turned up and I was like, I just want to see a monkey beat the shit out of other monkey, whatever. And to be fair, the Kong stuff is really good in this film, in Godzilla X Kong. The Godzilla stuff is pish. The Kong stuff's pretty good, but it doesn't come together at the end. And it really is so weird. And this kind of comes into like what I was saying about the creator as well, is introducing too many concepts where it's just like way out of proportion. Where I'm here for the monkey and I'm here for the dinosaur, right? That's all I want. And I want other like weird monkey dinosaur and battle. That's what I'm here for. But they keep throwing this shit where it's like, Kong's in Hollow Earth and he's got a toothache. He better go to the surface. And it's like, your cool monkey that beats the shit out of dinosaurs should not be like, oh, toothache, you know? Bullshit. The human characters in this are fucking egregiously bad, every single one of them, and it's terrible as well because is it Brian Tyree Henry? Is that his name?
I don't know. I haven't seen the film, man.
He's in Bullet Train. He's like Tangerine or Lemon, one of the two.
Oh yeah. He's in Eternals as well, right?
Yes, and he's fucking dreadful in this film, and I really like him in Bullet Train, which is a shame, because I was like kind of excited when he came on screen because I was like, oh, this guy was actually really funny in Bullet Train, and then the whole film he's just like totally lame. But yeah, the human characters are pish. Godzilla's pish. Kong's good. I like the bad guy as well. But the problem with fitting too much stuff in is that there's like a Hollow Earth. There's a Hollow Earth within a Hollow Earth, and there's like telepathic humans, like psychic humans as well. And it's like, bruh, I don't need like a race of psychic humans in Hollow Earth, inside Hollow Earth. It's like, just give me the monkey, bro. Like, you know, I don't understand. Like, keep it simple. Like, Kong Skull Island was like simple. It was like John Goodman takes a bunch of folk in Vietnam helicopters and they come across Big Monkey. That's it. Right. This is too much. Like, it's too much.
Is your connection going to be like the human characters in -1 are actually really bloody good?
Because they're fucking fantastic.
So it's not even an excuse anymore, where it's like, oh, it's just, you need to have them. It's like, no, we've seen now, even with the recent Transformers, you can have good humans in these big films, you know what I mean? So,
well, yeah, because I think still in an ideal film, like, I think you can still make a Transformers film with no humans, just set on Cybertron, and I would like that more. But if you're going to give me some good character arcs and like good character relationships, like in Rise of the Beasts, I'll take it. You know, like, it was good. I'd rather it wasn't there, but it was good. And this is kind of the total opposite of that, where like they're all pish and it's just pish, and it's like. But you make a good point. Is that the kind of argument has been like, oh, you need the humans, but like Godzilla -1 absolutely does prove you can do it for really fucking well, and actually the humans like carry the film.
But, yeah, because Godzilla's kind of funky looking in the film, in my opinion. So when he's on screen, I'm kind of laughing, but
I can forgive it because the tiny budget, but
the tiny budget,
and I know you do as well, but and I actually really like that they kept like the OG Godzilla design in -1 as well. I think that was a really good choice. It might look a bit kooky, but like I think that works, especially because it's in Japanese. I think they can get away with more things because it's in Japanese. Because when you watch like Kong versus Godzilla, I'm pretty sure they're probably saying similar things, but just because we're watching like an American version of it, it seems really cringy. But
fair.
You know, if you're watching it in Japanese, you can get away with a bit more. Because they're both silly premises, but like one's taken seriously to the right level.
One's taken really seriously, where it's like to the point where it's like they've just finished up. It was World War II they just finished up with.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're already on the brink of like freaking like poverty. You know what I mean? So it's like and then this big creature's just showing up to screw things up even more for them.
Well, exactly, because the opening in the film is basically him going back to everyone being dead in Tokyo from the fire bombings. So, yeah, and it just gets worse, like you say.
It's
but
like the stakes are high, and you see, like, for the humans, like, shoot, this is, like, really affecting us. You know what I mean? So,
which is good. Yeah, really
yeah,
good.
For sure.
Because that's what we've been missing for years.
Like, Godzilla, because Godzilla isn't the freaking hero in this film. Like, he's definitely, like, the villain, if you would call him that. Whereas in these other Godzilla King Kong films, he's like let's bring Godzilla in to be Superman for the day. You know, like, he needs to save the day. It's like, no, like, Godzilla's meant to be, like, the freaking destroyer of freaking...
Well...
Not that it's the original take, but I like that version of him where he is just going to, like, destroy the planet. I don't want to spoil too much, because, like, there's some really good stuff that I don't want to, like, say, even though I've got, like, opinions on them. But when he does the, was it atomic blast, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it.
Like atomic breath thing. Yeah.
That was the best version that I've ever seen in that film, -1. I think that that built the stakes up high for when they tried to build it up later on in the film. It's like, no, we can't let that happen, or else we're done. You know what I mean? So, whereas in other films, it's just like it's a freaking Super Smash Bros. Freaking brawl move or something.
Finisher, yeah.
It's like finisher, yeah. It's like you just use it whatever. But yeah, I know you've not seen them, Robert, but like, which one do you think appeals to you more? I think I know the answer, but like
I got the I bought the minus. Is it the Japanese one?
Yeah.
I forget what's called.
Did you get Shin Godzilla? Is that the one you're talking about?
1 second. Let me just.
Because a lot of people like Shin Godzilla, and I get why people like it, but it wasn't my cup of tea.
He's randomly had a lot of films out recently, like a lot, you know, because you had that TV show as well that came out not too long ago as well. It's just been a lot of Godzilla.
Yeah, and to be fair, it kind of did send waves through, like, I don't know if it sent waves through Hollywood, but at least people who talk about Hollywood, it sent waves through that, because everyone was kind of like, this is kind of what we want our films to be, and this is what we've been asking for a long time, and we've not been getting it. And like, these guys did it on like $50 million, so what's the deal? But I think the real strong suit is the main character. It's been a long time since I've seen the film, and it's not my fault. It's not even fucking out in the UK yet. It might be on digital, but it's definitely not on Blu-ray. I think that's October 1st or something. It's a shame this film did really well, considering it only had like a 3-day run in the UK, and it probably had like similar runs.
I think they increased it because it was doing so well, though. Like, it was only supposed to be 3 days, I think, and then they kept it. I don't know if that was for us or America, though. Maybe for us it was limited, but it did stay on for more just because it was doing so well. That's what I'm saying. Wow. Like, to relate to the creator, because they both had such low budgets, it's actually crazy how good both those films are and look. You know, in comparison to films with massive budgets. It's like, what?
Obviously, we're on the other end of the Oscars now as well, where we've seen that Godzilla got the Oscar, and I think I would have been disappointed had creator of Godzilla not got it.
It had to be one of those two. Yeah.
It had to be one of those two, given the budget. Yeah. I mean, I know Oppenheimer was about 100 million, but I think I think it was good, but it's not got enough to stand up to the other two.
Yeah, and it's like, honestly, like, if I was to pick a winner, it probably should have been creator, but because Godzilla was so low budget, it's like almost more impressive. Where it's like you know, so I can get it, I can understand. I would have been happy if either won, so I'm glad one of them won.
I have like a canon ending in my head, because one of my kind of complaints with this film is that I fucking loved it the whole way up, and then right at the very end, they do things, and I don't like it.
They have the same outcome.
We won't spoil this, because obviously the film's been hard to see, and I really recommend it, and I would recommend you go into it. It's not a film you need like spoiled, but you shouldn't have spoiled, but it's also nice to go into it kind of fresh. So I'll skimp on the details, but I have a canon version in my head that I like way better than what's on film, and I think I'll just like go about my life living that version of the film now.
They add on like 5 minutes, it just didn't need to be there. I'm like, God, you could have been a 10. You could have been a 10, but no, you have to add those last 5 minutes.
So that does knock it down for me as well. But I mean, the rest of the film is so good. And actually, like I say, I'm not a big fan of Godzilla, and I don't think I'll get into Godzilla because of this film. But as like a standalone film, this is sick. Like, it's really sick. it's a shame that not everyone is interested in like Japanese films. I guess like not everyone's willing to watch like subtitled films.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would recommend it to basically everyone. But
Well, like honestly, I am one of those guys who wouldn't typically watch a film with subtitles, but because of the hype, I was like, right, fine, I'll watch it. And I can't lie, at first it was a bit of I find it a bit troubling to get into it because like usually if I'm reading the subtitles, I'm not processing what's happening on screen at the same time. Like I find it hard to do that. But honestly, I think the way the film is edited and shot and stuff, it kind of let people read it a little bit and then stuff would happen. You know, it felt like it's not like people were talking while things were going on. It would just be like a conversation. It's like you don't necessarily need to look at what's happening or whatever, you know. So I didn't. Yeah, it was totally fine. It was totally fine by the end, you know.
So I have 2 minor points to round off on. If you guys
Yeah.
are fine to round off on that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Godzilla Minus One is one of the coolest cinema experiences I had last year because I was in a packed cinema with a film I knew basically nothing about apart from hype. I was like, this film was, because I heard the hype on Facebook. I was like, this Minus One film is meant to be banging film, and that's all I knew about it. And I was like, you know what? Friday night when it comes out, I'm going to go see it. And the cinema was packed, and it was great. And then the Godzilla Kong one, I went on a Saturday, and there was like 3 other people in the cinema, and it was the least hype thing I've ever seen. It was like a wet fart of a film and like an experience. So I had a decent time, like by the end, because I think the end of the film is pretty fun, but it's pish. And also, doing a bit of digging on IMDb, this I'm going to finish with. Godzilla Kong shares writers with Pirates of the Caribbean 1. So, and that Terry Rossio? I mean, I don't know to what degree he helped on Pirates and to what degree he wrote this film, but the fact that they're linked by a writer is quite sad. So I'll just leave the audience with that with that mess. I mean, he might be having fun. You know what I mean? He might be getting paid millions just to like, you know what I mean, like write whatever the fuck he wants about Hollywood, and that might be good for him, but it weren't good for me. So that's my positive film, I guess. My negative film.
I would, once Robert's seen it, I would like to do a
like a roundup
solo thing on this film, because I think there's a lot of stuff that we have opinions on. Because specifically, like I can think of 2 big things that we have opinions on in the film. I won't say what, but like there's.
Sorry,
there's a couple
is
big
it
things.
is this -1 or the
Yes.
-1? Yeah.
Okay.
We're not going to make you watch the bad one.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add it to my list now, so I'll do that.
So maybe expect that in the future. Yes. Or maybe do that for when the film comes out in Blu-ray in October. Keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yeah, maybe actually. Yeah.
So that's me. So you want to go round back in the circle again, Brandon? What you got for us?
I might as well. Right, let's. Oh shit, I'm stumped, man. I'm stumped. Because I want to talk about some bad films as well.
To be fair, if we don't get to all the bad films, I've got a big list of them. I've got a big list said good films, mid films, shit films. So if we don't go through any of those, I'm just going to run them up at the end anyway. So
can I quickly make an honourable Godzilla mention while Brandon's waiting to do this?
Okay.
To pick his one. My honourable Godzilla mention is the 2023 Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles film. That was personally my favourite Godzilla film. I thought it was brilliant. That's all I have to say.
Like crossover or something?
No, it's literally just a big bug fight at the end.
Oh right, I see.
It's just a big monster fight. It's the same with like Mario. It's just a big browser destroying a city at the end. It's just a big Godzilla moment.
Oh, editor, put some cricket noises on that and edit it out. Well, let's move on. I'm joking.
Right. I will pick my favourite film from the last year. Within the last year, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm going to pick The Iron Claw. Now, there's some bias with this, because I am a big wrestling fan, although I didn't know much about the family going into it. I knew some stuff. I was only fully aware of one of the brothers as well, so it's not like I even knew the names of the other guys. Yeah, it hit hard. I won't get into too much personal stuff, but we've all dealt with some, mental health, self-harming stuff, whether it's friends or whatever, you know what I mean? So we can all kind of relate in some way to this type of film. And yeah, like I mean, I don't think I've seen a film, especially that recently, that's hit that hard, where it kind of put me in an emotional sort of like not wreck. I wouldn't say I was an emotional wreck, but like it proper like kind of put a it upset me. You know what I mean? But because they do such a good job making you really love these guys, especially like the brothers, of course, not the dad. But like yeah, like you do love them all, and they all have their own unique personalities and their needs and wants and their goals and stuff. And they just freaking, I don't want to like spoil too much, but like bad stuff happens. So, and it's really upsetting when it does happen.
I think the film does a really good thing where each brother and like the brothers' partners, but mostly the brothers, you watch them and you go, oh, I see that person in my friend or my father or like someone like you can see it. You can like they're so real that it's like that you're not watching a character, you're watching people, which I don't think a film in a long like I couldn't tell you a film in all honesty that I've ever watched that does it the way that Ironclaw does, where I felt that these were real. Like I know it's like they are real people, but like
I know what you mean. It's typically slice of life films that do that, where it's like, oh, it feels like I'm just watching a family, but like this is still like a film, It's still got like a 3-act structure and stuff like that,
But in contrast to like a slice of life film, you're not watching some fucker do dishes. It's like interesting.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Not to shit on slice. I actually like slice of life films, but yeah, it's not that. Yeah,
they have their place. But yeah, but like I said, like because I've got the wrestling sort of like fandom behind me, that was like the main reason for me to get excited in the first place. Like I saw the trailer, I was like, holy crap! And I'm actually a big Zac Efron fan. I think he's severely underrated, and I think this is easily his best film as well. I think
I agree. Yeah,
I think he was robbed from a nomination, by the way. Like I don't think he should have won, but I think he should have been nominated for best actor that year.
I agree.
Like it's a shame. Especially some other people that were nominated. I don't want to like throw shade, but yeah. So I mean, I've not got many negatives. I'll just throw one out there, and I don't think you guys can relate because it's more about just like they add like certain characters that are from like the wrestling world and stuff, and I don't think they do like a brilliant job representing.
I remember you
people.
saying that.
Yeah, like because it's fun because like I know them, so it's cool to see them being like used and their names being said. I'm mentioning like Ric Flair and like Dusty Rhodes and stuff. Like it's cool to hear those because that's like way before my generation as well. I've just heard them in like passing and stuff, and like obviously aware of like the big names. But when they're on screen, I'm like, nah, you're not doing a good job representing him. It feels like a spoof, like when they're kind of being used, and it's kind of meant to be for jokes and stuff because like it's maybe this like flamboyant guy with the robe and stuff like that. It's like, hey, how are you taking this guy seriously? Even though he was like the best in the world at one point. But yeah, like honestly, they're like my only negatives is that sort of stuff. When it comes to like the acting and like even just like, I mean, this was my first time seeing that Jeremy Allen White as well, who plays what's his name? Shoot,
Bear.
Carmy.
Carmy and the bear.
Carmy and the bear.
So I think even though, I guess here's the thing, like some people are going to complain about casting because obviously they don't really look like the guys, especially Jeremy Allen White, because he doesn't represent.
Is his brother not like the person he's playing like the tallest one or something?
Yeah, he's supposed to be the tallest jacked guy, and it's just like he's just like 5'6" dude.
Oh, the Jack Reacher effect.
Yeah, but it's like again, like
but
it's not
but done well, done well.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it was an interesting story of like how far you're willing to go to, I guess, like please your parents, I suppose. Like that's kind of like the dad's kind of big trait is that he's putting his sons under all this hassle to achieve his own goals, type of thing, kind of negating their own goals. And certain things happen in the film where they can't even pursue those goals anymore because accidents happen. So, yeah. Well, fine. As a guy who doesn't really watch wrestling at all, how did you kind of find this film?
I dug it.
Completely blind.
I dug it big time. I didn't know anyone in this film. I didn't know anything about anyone in this film, and it was sick. The like you say, I was the same as you. I didn't know who Jeremy Allen White was going in, I think I only knew Zac Efron, probably. I'll tell you my big positive of this film, Lily James.
She's a positive for all of us. Because
I speak for everyone.
she can do wrong in her
That's a
bits.
positive in this film. A net positive to any film she's in. Let's skip over that. I will say this film is shot incredibly well. There's a few shots in this film that I really loved, and I'm kind of, especially when I come out of a film, I'm not really like the type to gush too much about like the overall thing. It's like a few moments in the film will stick with me, and it's usually like really cool shots, or really interesting shots and stuff like that, and transitions. And I love the there's an accident on a motorcycle. I won't tell you who. The scene where that happens was amazing. I love that scene.
That was a really good scene.
And I'm pretty sure there's a Zac Efron scene where he's doing a bit of a Tom Cruise run. That's shot quite well. The bit where another accident happens by a tree, I think that's shot really well. And Zac Efron's performance in that scene is really good as well. I agree. I think you're not going to name names. I'm going to name names. I don't think Jeremy Wright should have been on the nomination. I like the film he's in. And actually, that might be my next one I'm talking about. I don't think... I might get up who else was nominated for the Oscars, but in my opinion, Zac Efron gave a better performance than Jeffrey Wright. So I'm not against Jeffrey Wright getting a nomination, but I honestly would have wished Zac Efron would have been nominated as well. But yeah, this film was sick. And to be honest, it's like, I feel like it's one of those films where you can kind of recommend to anyone, even if they're not interested in wrestling.
But you do have to give them a pre-warning
that's the thing.
Like, because you gave me a warning when, and then I don't think I've ever cried like that in my life. And to a film, like that was awful. Like I had when we left, people were staring at me because I was like sobbing like a flipping 2-year-old. But it's one of those films where it's like you have to pre-warn people that you can't hate me after you've seen it. Like it's not an easy watch in any way. Like you have to know that you are going to be emotionally hurt.
Yeah, it depends on the person because, like, obviously, I know you, so I was like, right, I know he's gonna be emotional about it, but he's gonna realize, like, he's gonna, because there was a moment after you're like, I hate that film, but it's like when you said that, I knew you didn't know, I knew you didn't say that because you hate the film. It's just that you hate how it invoked this emotion in you.
Yeah.
But then like a day went by and you're like, God damn it, man, I freaking love that film because it's real. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Some people, like, we know certain people who don't like films like that. They just want to enjoy a film, so that's not gonna be their type of film at all. Whereas for me, I kind of like a little bit of that sometimes, where it can get into some real aspects. Like, I don't completely relate to everything going on, but like there's parts of it that I do. You know, so it's like even just taking those aspects. But even then, I don't even care about that. It's like, I care about these brothers now, so when bad things happen to them, it sucks, you know? And to know it's a real story as well, it's like, oh my god. It's like, and it's even worse in real life as well. But what I love is that, because it could, what I was worried about, it was going to end on a very, like, sad tone, which it kind of does, but then in the credits it does the whole thing of, like, so-and-so had grandchildren and all that, and it's like, lovely. Like, I'm glad everything's okay now, you know. It's not not just like, oh, he's dead, it's like, oh, that's it, done. You know, it's like, no, it's like there's some the hope at the end of the film.
And the final scene, just to do a little addendum on that, the final scene is immaculate. I love the final scene.
I don't even know what my favorite scene is, honestly, because like I like the stuff that maybe you guys won't appreciate, which is like when Zac Efron's trying to do his backstage interview and he just sucks. You know, it's like, I love that stuff. And
that is a really good scene.
You know, but then seeing like his brother, him, when he does it, he's like flawless at it. But that's why he gets ahead, because he's good at the personality stuff, whereas Zac's more like the physical aspect. And I love that sort of stuff because that's like real, and some wrestlers don't get over because of that reason, because they're not good on the mic. So it's like, whereas, like, for example, like The Rock, he's like the most charismatic guy. That's why he got so much attention. He might not have been the best in the ring ever. He wasn't bad, but like, because of his personality, that's why he got forward. So that's why Kevin's held back a little bit, because he doesn't have that connection.
Yeah.
So that's a little nitty gritty stuff I like, and like seeing behind the scenes of people saying like planning out their match and stuff like that, and seeing the injuries and seeing the backstage
Hidden.
stuff. Well, yeah, yeah, you know.
Can-
So I love all that stuff.
Right.
That's why I watch like the documentaries and stuff, because I just like to see behind the scenes type of thing.
Those scenes were like, I think as well, like it helps people who don't watch wrestling understand wrestling a little bit more as well, because like I dabble in wrestling, like we talk about wrestling and you keep me updated, and I'll occasionally like you send me stuff or I'll watch stuff, but like I'm not a hardcore fan or anything.
It's a confusing
But yeah, it's
like thing.
but it's confusing. But this goes really simplistic. There's like a simple conversation between Zac Efron and Lily James, where like as someone who doesn't watch wrestling, you're like Lily James is asking all these questions, and then for like someone who does watch wrestling, you can see that kind of like frustration of like, no, this is a real job. This is real, but like it's not at the same time, and but it is real, and then you see these scenes where it's like these guys are actually hurting them, getting hurt, like serious stuff is happening to them, but they're preparing as well, and like they're planning who's going to win each match and stuff. So it's really interesting, and I think it helps the viewer. Like I said,
Yeah.
But
the only nitpick I have with that is for future films, I feel like every film has to have that scene, because there are people that just refuse to acknowledge what it is. You know, they just won't learn. Because like I have people all the time, like at work, for example, and they're like, "Oh, I thought it was scripted." I'm like, this conversation again. Like it's all the time. You know, it's just so often. And I'm even having my own trouble because I'm in the middle of trying to write a wrestling movie, and I'm trying to avoid those type of conversations, but I also feel like they're necessary to people who don't understand. So it's like it's a hard one to juggle.
You kind of just want it like out of the way as fast as possible.
Yeah.
But like I'm holding your hand and then I'm letting go. You know what I mean? Like you don't
for sure.
You don't want the viewers to be like, oh, I've just watched 45 minutes of explaining how this works. Like you just want a 10-second.
I do think it is a bit of like it got into the zeitgeist that wrestling's fake, and then everyone just kind of dismissed it, as opposed to being like, as opposed to recognizing it for what it is. It's like a show, right?
Yeah.
People were like, well, if it's not real, I'm not watching it. And it's like, mate, you ever watch football? Those bastards dive all the time. It's like, that's not real either. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's my take.
But,
I don't watch wrestling either, but I would. You know what I mean? It's like any other entertainment.
To cap it off, I wouldn't like go too far to say it was a 10 out of 10, but like it is in my heart. But like I know it's not. Like I know that it's not like, not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not like that. You know, when you watch a 10 out of 10 film, and you're like, that's a 10 out of 10 film. I didn't get that, but like it's so close.
It's like it's like a 9.8.
It's like so close. Yeah, like honestly, like down the line, it might even like improve to me, where to the point where it is in my top 5 or something, like of all time. But just because it has that. But,
no, that's fair.
But like I said, I'm not expecting everyone else to have that same feeling.
Did you like now versus when you came out to cinema? Because like I find it quite hard to criticize a film like that.
Yeah.
Like on like a story basis or things like that. You know, like there's obviously things I could want more from a film, but I'm like, but that's what the film is. That's what it's trying to tell me, and it's done with that well. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I find it hard to criticize films like that.
It's tough because I think they could have went down the rabbit hole of just, I can't remember what they call it, but it's just like just constant emotional trauma, and it's like I'm glad there's moments in the film where it's like, oh no, there's some like happy in it there, or like there's stuff there. Like to be fair, the first half of the film is just a nice family film, and then it's down the line where it's like, all right, let's see this crumble. You know, it's like it really does a good job loving these brothers.
Are you meaning like, it could become like new SpongeBob and just be like Squidward torture porn? Like
pretty much, yeah.
Let's bully Zac Efron for half a film. Like
exactly, yeah. So I think they really did a good job, and I do hope they do more wrestling films, because there are so many good stories that they could tell, but they're all tragic. That's the only thing. So it's like It's gonna be the same type of film every time.
And more Zac Efron films with him in like a starring role,
Yes,
where like he has to like push his acting because he does really well.
Have you
He's-
two?
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, but did you watch the movie where he plays Ted Bundy?
Yes.
Lily Collins is. That's really he's really.
Is
good
that
in
like extremely
apparently.
wicked, foul, something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good in that.
Yeah.
That was a Sky original.
But what I was going to quickly say, if I could just make a couple points on the film, if that's all right.
No,
My,
you've
my,
lost the time.
my favorite scene, or not my favorite scene, but like one of my favorite scenes is when they're all dancing at the wedding, and it's like I think it's like one of like the last moments where you see like the pure happiness of everyone.
Yeah.
And then like tables turn. But it's like but it's a very like well done shot scene, I thought, because it was very simple, but it was just like really quick, and it was just this like you just you and your siblings just dancing at your wedding with your partner in that, and it was just a really nice scene. But as well, the tree scene, or the final scene where he's holding his sons,
Yeah.
those scenes as well, where like they not they were the only scenes where it physically took every like all my air out of me, like it like my eyes were like Gollum, and I was like, whoa. So those were also like really well done.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I agree. Well,
Happy Days.
happy.
Well,
Well,
not Happy Days.
not happy days for that film. But
absolutely
yeah.
not. Yeah. Right. Well, keep us going then, Robert. What's the next film?
Okay, so so I'm going to pick the Hunger Games, Songbirds of the Snakes.
Ooh, interesting.
So I'm picking this film because I thought it was I always really liked the political stuff of the Hunger Games, but I thought that in the original, like with Katniss Everdeen, when it got political in the last, I think it was like 2 or 3 films, it just sucked, and it wasn't well done, and I didn't really like the last 2 films. But like they just had like a lot of really interesting stuff. So when this came out, and it was like a little bit of the Hunger Games, and then completely like political and evil, I was like, oh, this is the Hunger Games, like the political side. Sorry. So for me, because I'm a big Hunger Games fan, I finally felt like I was given a reward after having to suffer the last 2 Hunger Game films. Even though the Hunger Games are, about the games, and I love that aspect of the first and the second game. I think they're just absolutely brilliant. But it was just, I don't know, it was different, and it was as weird as it is. It was like, it was nice to see President Snow as a main character, and like seeing his character develop, but to like the evil man that he is, was really interesting. It felt like a Poundland version of the Joker film, but I liked it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We had a conversation last weekend when we were out, because another one of our friends have seen it, and he didn't really like it. I think I remember that being a mistake. But like, there were parts that I liked that he liked, and sorry, there was parts that I liked that he didn't like, and parts that he liked that I didn't like.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of on the ballpark where I find the games are typically mid in all the films, or at least the ones I've seen. Which is
Not the second one, though. Not the second
Yeah,
one.
I'm not seeing the second one. But like,
that's the best one. Best one.
But so like, because my point is, I prefer the build up. I prefer the advertising and the what would you call it?
like
setup,
the performance, like the performing,
the performance aspect, and like try to get sponsors and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I really
It's so
like that
interesting.
part,
It's so
you know?
interesting.
And then I always just feel like the games just like don't hit for me, especially in the first one. Saying that's the only one I've seen. I've seen the first one, the third one, and this one. So I'm all over the place with this franchise.
Oh, bro, watch the second one. I think the second one does it like perfectly because you have like the in the games the setup is like even better. Anyway,
Yeah.
carry on what you're saying.
I guess my point is, I feel like Ryan's gonna bring up this point as well. Have you even seen the film actually, Ryan?
I have absolutely zero stakes in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, but you've seen you've like you're aware of them, right?
I've seen the first film one time about a decade ago, and I've seen none of the other films. Yeah,
right, that's fair.
But my point was going to be is that our main characters never, or at least from my knowledge and memory, never have to make a tough decision. And I feel like the Hunger Games is a perfect like place to do something like that, where you're having morally ambiguous like choices and stuff. Like you have to win but the only way to win is to kill, essentially. But your character never ever kills like a good person, or someone that's like not bad, because it's typically like the assholes that they kill. It's like, well, yeah, they deserve it, but and it just never feels creative. It always just like, oh, they're hiding, and they just by survival they win. It's like, oh, brilliant. It's like it's just so boring to me, which is why I love the build up. And I feel like they didn't do too much build up in this one either, because I think, funnily enough, in this film, most of the film is the games, which is probably good for some people, because that's probably what should bloody be about. But to me, it's like it's just nothing really happens. There's one funny moment, but I'm not comfortable saying what funny moment it is. But it's hilarious.
It's not a funny moment. It's not
somebody
a funny
dies,
moment.
and it's hilarious.
It's not a funny moment.
It's definitely played off for laughs. 100 is. But anyway, I will agree that Snow, I think I really liked, because it's not necessarily that he's a bad person. It's just that he's doing what he has to do to survive in the world of the Hunger Games. Because you can't just be like a goody two shoes. You kind of have to be a dick to get big in life. And because of his backstory and stuff, he kind of wants to strive to be that type of guy. So I do like it. And again, I don't remember too much of Snow from the original movie, so it's kind of like weird for me to judge, but I did like him. For another point, just to like cap my points off, is I actually really do like Rachel Zegler in a lot of like the films I've seen. I thought she was really good in West Side Story. I actually really liked her in this as well. As much as I don't necessarily like her off screen, just based on interviews and stuff like that.
I think she's
I can't deny
really
that I do like her.
talented.
Yeah,
she's a really talented woman.
Yeah.
Like
She
insanely
is,
talented.
sure.
And I think she really showed us in this. Like the acting and the performing, and even like the action stuff, the stunt stuff. Like you do have to.
My biggest worry was that because she was from District 12 and stuff, it's just like they're just going to freaking Katniss Everdeen again. Like, God's sake, like we've just had 4 films of her. Like, can we do something else? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, just Lassie from District 12, whatever. Let's do this again. But she actually is like really different, like personality wise and stuff like that, which I do appreciate. I just wish it was a different district. But I get it, like the underdog story, like the worst district. Like I get it, but yeah. I don't know if I have any other points, honestly.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But
I
loved the film. I thought the film was like solid 7. I really enjoyed it.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I'd put it in the same ballpark.
But like I said, it's just I think for a lot of Hunger Games fans, I think we were all felt a bit betrayed by the last 2. So when we got this, it was nice. So it was like an apology. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Ryan? No, nothing.
Absolutely, fuck all.
Absolutely not. Does it interest you though, or is you just kind of not interested at all?
No, not really.
I honestly would recommend this film to you, Ryan, and I wouldn't recommend any other ones.
Peter Dinklage is good in this film. I like him.
Yeah, no, he's all right.
He's good.
Yeah, it was.
But
To
I
be
like
fair,
him in
his,
everything. But
yeah, like to be sorry. To be fair, his best roles are in Elf and Game of Thrones. Like he's brilliant. Call me an elf one more time.
That one scene, call me elf one more time.
It's
I think
iconic. It's iconic.
he's a bit better in Game of Thrones, I think. But yeah, sure, you can have that.
It's nostalgia, man. It's nostalgia.
It's memorable, at least, like you say. It's memorable.
Lovely,
Okay.
lovely.
Well, I'm at a bit of a crossroads here. I don't know what to talk about. I think I'm going to talk about American fiction. Should I? No, because you guys haven't seen it. I'll pick someone else. In fact, fuck it. Yeah, I will talk about that.
We'll listen.
Yeah. So I did bring up Jeffrey Wright before, and like first glance, it's probably quite harsh to be like, "Oh, he doesn't deserve the nomination." I think he was great in this film, and actually probably gave. I don't know. I just don't think it's the style of film, or his acting in it was the style that is kind of for the Oscars, I guess. Like, not to be like a snob about it, but like, I never got that. Like, he does have like subtle moments and emotional moments and stuff like that where he's really good at acting. But most of this film is a comedy, and I don't know. It feels a bit odd because he's like, and he's really funny as well. He's actually a really funny guy, and he's actually one of my favorite actors as well. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say we all are big fans.
we're big fans.
Yeah,
I remember seeing like from the get go in Westworld. I had no idea who he was, but I loved him in Westworld.
Yeah,
And
that was the
then
exact same. That was my first time seeing him as well.
I've never seen it.
I saw Casino Royale before that. I didn't even recognize him. I didn't even know it was him.
well, yeah, I only see Casino Royale recently as well. But then he got cast as Commissioner Gordon. I was like, fuck yeah, I'll take that. Sick.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I loved him in the Batman. And I loved him in this. And actually, I loved pretty much everyone in this. I haven't read the book. The book sounds interesting. The film's a really good adaptation. It seems like the film is a really good adaptation of the book, where like a proxy for the book in the book sort of thing. This film's kind of the same thing, where like the message is in the film, but the message also is the film itself. But it's also comedic. It's surprisingly comedic because like the prompt I'd been given about the film was, oh, it's about a guy who writes like academic books on a subject about like black culture and stuff like that, and they don't sell well, but he's really respected like within his niche, but his books don't sell, and he's just a teacher in like some high school, whatever. And then he gets the idea to like, you know what, why don't I cater to these like the things that white people like to eat up about black stories, basically. And he does, and it works out. Spoilers, that's the prompt of the film, and that's that's the prompt I was given going in, and I was thinking that could be quite heavy, deep, but it's a really funny film. And I didn't realize the day I went and seen it in the cinema it was already on Prime, but it was good in the cinema as well. But it's on Prime. Highly recommend. It's really well acted. It's really funny. Jeffrey Wright's really good in it. I don't think Oscar worthy, but really, really good. Sterling K. Brown, he's good in it, but I think his character's a bit muddled. Like him, maybe not his character, but like the way it slots into the rest of the story felt quite, oh, right, okay, we're doing this now. Where it seemed like quite a focused film, and it almost seemed like the film was kind of coming to an end with that. And then it just kind of, oh, right, we're dealing with his brother now. So that's probably like a negative, is it started to feel a little bit like tangled by the end. And like part of that was because you are like in amongst his family, and you're kind of just thrown into like his family drama as well. So a lot of it's like untangling that and him spending time with his family. So it's not necessarily like important to the plot straight away, like in a primary way, but it's like kind of like slice of life secondary stuff where it's like it's just nice to see those moments as well and see what this guy's family life is like, and you know how he's living his life. But yeah, the film's actually really fucking funny, and makes you feel bad for being white, but oh well. It doesn't actually.
I just based on what I know about it, I like the idea of it kind of shining light on like the whole aspect of like he doesn't want to write these type of books, yet he has to be successful. And I feel like a lot of artists kind of struggle with that a little bit, where they're they sacrifice a part of their individuality to like jump on the trends and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But it's like it's a lose-lose, because it's like, well, you want to be successful, you know what I mean? You want to make money and sell books and stuff, but sometimes you do need to kind of go down that route.
And one thing this film does really well is that it gives each voice in that argument a fair say. It does. I think it does take a stance on like, oh, this is like a problem that people are dealing with as artists, but it doesn't say like, oh, this is the right solution or whatever. It gives you different characters who are telling you different things, and they're all given like a good. It's not straw man at a certain point. It's like it's giving them all a fair shot at the argument, which is really really fun. And they walk that tightrope really well, where they're still taking the problem seriously, but they're playing it for comedy as well. And there's one scene on the phone, if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about, where he changes the name of the book, and that shit's really funny. But it's like it's also like part of the problem of the film for the character. But the opening scene, I really love the opening scene. The opening scene like basically sums up the argument of the film in a really funny and succinct way. It was a really great way to open the film and get across the type of character this guy is. And he's an interesting guy to watch as well. Like Jeffrey Wright as an actor, but also the character. He's a really fun guy to watch, even when he is just interacting with his family. Like you get invested pretty quick. And what else was I going to say? There's one scene in the film which is fucking marvelous. And TLDR, we are trying to like dabble in writing as well. We're writing bros now, and I had a scene similar to this in a totally different context, but they did it in this film really really well. And it kind of inspired me to kind of touch up mine a bit as well. But they have this really fun scene where, because he's a writer in the film, obviously he writes this book, but he actually sits down to write the book, and kind of the characters he's writing about come to life in his living room, and they kind of go back and forth and stuff like that, and it's really really fun scene. And I almost wish it was played for a gimmick, but it's also a really fun gimmick, and it fits in with the tone of the film really well. And I almost wish there was more of that in the film, but I know you can kind of overstep that as well. But that was definitely like that scene was 100% a highlight of the film. But yeah, I don't know. This film again, it's hard to put a number on because I think it's hard to put hard to put a number on films that make me laugh as well. Because obviously it really depends on like the context you're watching the film. Is it your first time? You know what's coming? If you're with friends, whatever. So you can have a different time with like comedic films, but obviously this one has like substance behind it as well. But yeah, it's a really intelligent film, and it's a really fun film, and I would definitely recommend it. But
yeah, I'm annoyed because I was planning on seeing it, but it was literally showing for like 3 days, and I was working those days, unfortunately. So I was just like, I just missed them. It sucked. But like I said, they're online, right? So I can probably catch it.
Yeah. Also has a cool poster.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah,
Sweet.
generally positive. Again, that's a hard film for me to critique because it is what it is, and it's like very good at what it's doing. And there's like certain things I would want more, and certain things I maybe want less, but a very good film. There you go. Step right up. You're up next.
Right here, let me have a wee browse, because I was going to talk about like freaking Madam Web and that, but honestly, that would be like a half-hour conversation on its own. So I'm just going to pick a film that I kind of liked. Unfortunately, I don't think Robert's seen it, so sorry.
That's alright. To be fair, I haven't seen a lot of films this year.
That's all good, and you know what? That says more about the films than it says about you, because it's been pretty slim pickings, as we've said.
Yeah.
I'm going to say The Holdovers, because I actually really liked that film, and I knew nothing about it going in. Paul Giamatti, leading role. I believe the younger guy, I don't think he was in many films before this, if any at all. Can't remember his name though, but he was really good. Yeah, it's just a bit. This is, I would call this a slice of life film, right? Like I would kind of call it that. Just like
Yeah.
a couple of weeks in this little school. It's essentially what they get like snowed in or something, or it's like winter school or something like that. It's something along those lines. Everyone's went back to their families, but this guy has to stay with the teacher. So it's like it's a nice little dynamic between the asshole teacher and the asshole student. So it's like how do they get on, you know? And you've also got like the cook, who's
the asshole cafeteria and cafeteria woman. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just like a bunch of these negative Nancy's, and how are they going to get on during the winter? And honestly, it's just a nice little enjoyable film. Like nothing particularly crazy happens in it. Nothing like, I wouldn't even say anything standout happens. It's just a nice sort of film to watch. It's just to see this guy's sort of growth as he kind of starts off as this like mean teacher but then you kind of learn more about him in his past, and it's like, oh, I kind of get it. Like, it's like I can see why you're in a bit of a mood, but you're also like kind of a nice guy as well. It's just kind of hard. It's just to break away the shell to get to that.
Life's hard.
Get to that guy. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So honestly, yeah, and I'm really like my main point is like I'm just really happy that the Lassie won the Oscar because I just wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And she was just so good in the film. It's just like but it wasn't like a part where it was like, oh, that's Oscar worthy. I didn't even like comprehend that. But when she won, I was like, yeah, why not? Like that was like she was so class at it. Like,
especially when you looked at the other nominees, it was kind of a bit hard because there was a lot of like big names, but the films weren't particularly like they weren't standout. They were standout films, but they weren't standout in those films.
Yeah, like so if you say like Emily Blunt, for example, like we all like Emily Blunt, we all like Oppenheimer to an extent. It's like, but she wasn't like it. She wasn't the standout. So it was nice to see her win from the Holdovers. But yeah, like I said, I didn't know anything about it going in, so I kind of like doing that with some films, just like going in with a blank canvas. Let's just see what they give me. I was a little bit hesitant at first because it kind of looked old timey, and I was like, oh, it's going to be artsy, isn't it? Because I typically don't like artsy films. But it totally wasn't. It was, if anything, it was like actually a really funny film as well, which I wasn't expecting. Because I've not seen too much of Paul Giamatti before. Like I've literally only seen him in Spider-Man, and that's
right now.
That's not a good example of his talent.
Hey, that's peak action right there. What are you on about?
Well, this Spider-Man, like, they didn't say that. That's
imagine that being on your resume. Yeah,
it's a shame. It's a shame. But yeah, so I was almost kind of backing him to win Oscars. Obviously, I'm really glad that Cillian Murphy won because he was my number one. But like, I wouldn't have been mad if Paul Giamatti won either, because he actually did a good job. But yeah, what are your takes, Ryan? Because I know you saw it as well.
There's one comment floating around in my head, so I'm going to say it before I forget. Towards the start of the film, I remember it being quite slow to start, and then there was one scene where it like flips a switch, and it's like, right, we're doing this now, and it just kind of like the tone kind of shifts, and it's a little bit jarring, but then I like where the film takes it, so I'm not really complaining, but I'm not smart enough to talk about it. It is, yeah.
Same page.
Where I was watching it on the plane, and I was kind of like, I'm a bit drowsy, and I'm just like, oh, jeez, I'm sitting lying down, like, oh, right, okay, and I'm watching this thinking, is the whole film going to be like this? Oh dear. And then just like snap. And I'm like, oh, shit. Something happened. And then it kind of like, that's, I guess, the inciting incident or whatever. But, I'm trying to think if I had anything like major to add. I like I'm going to say this for a film later probably as well. I just like the vibe. It's got that kind of like 70s, 80s kind of, if this film had been filmed in probably like the late 80s, around the time of like Dead Poets Society or something like that, and it was just held in a locker for 20 years, 30 years, and then released, I'd have been like, yeah, that makes sense. It just felt like a film that they don't really make today, or that doesn't get in the spotlight today. But it was really like, I don't know, it was really fun. It was just a cozy kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't even say it's as slice of life as some other films I've seen, but it's
but it's, I mean, that is, there's not a plot, you know what I mean? There's not like a journey or a story. It's just people are just existing, it's just like they're just living life in this unique situation. I don't know, I just like the little relationships with each of the characters as well, because obviously got that little waitress woman as well that Paul Giamatti has a little crush on, but like he's just never been the guy to like make those steps, and then oh no, she's married. It's like, oh, like damn, I relate, bro. I feel that.
Between this and Iron Claw makes you feel bad for the way you look physically. This makes you feel bad for what you could be if you become Paul Giamatti. Like,
I do find it funny how they do comment on his looks. Like he seems like he's okay, like with people like taking the mick out of him and stuff. If it's like lazy eye or something, like that's constantly brought up in the movie. But yeah, like I said, I really like the younger actor. I forgot his name, but he was really good as well, really charismatic and stuff. But yeah, no, I just wanted to bring up because like I don't think people have been really talking about it, and I'm like, you know what, it freaking deserves to be talked about. It's a good film.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm happy to just move on from there. I think we made our points. Happy with that.
Step on up, Robert.
Go on, son.
Okay.
You got for us.
Right.
Last one.
Right. So, I never saw it in cinema, but it came out last year. So I'm gonna snipe it in. Past lives.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So, it's about two childhood sweethearts who don't know they love each other, and like one of them moves to New York, and then it's like so many years since they've seen each other. Then they rekindle their relationship over like Skype or something, and then it dwindles, and then they actually see each other in person. And it's this really it's not a fast paced story. It's not like there's nothing. It's a slow film, but it's a very, I don't know, it's a very unique but also like already made film, because it's like, it's a childhood sweetheart. She's in a relation. She's married to this American guy, and he shows up, and they're all talking about like, oh, if you had stayed in, I believe it's South Korea. If you had stayed, would we be together, and all this stuff. And the film is really good at like not breaking the fourth wall, but kind of like saying what the people are thinking almost, because her husband is like, if this was a movie, I'm the American villain, like I'm the evil husband who's stopping you from like falling in love with your sweetheart, your childhood sweetheart. And it's like a really relaxed but kind of like emotional film, but it's at the same pace the whole way through. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay.
But it's just, I don't know, it's just a really interesting take as well, because it's like for a lot of the film you're watching it, and it's American, and then it goes to Korean, and then American, and it does it really nicely, where I don't think, like, I think if people are wanting to get into more like films with different languages and subtitles, I think it's a really nice little like gentle step into it, because the whole it's not the whole film, but it's just nice little parts here and there. And it also has like really interesting like character dynamics as well, and like relationships. And it was just a very beautiful, and again, real film, where like the characters felt pretty real, like it felt like a true story. And it was just, it was nice, but it didn't have like your typical ending either. Like it wasn't a super happy ending, but it wasn't a like sad ending. It was kind of like, oh, like, I don't know, it was just a really good film. I just really enjoyed it, but at the same time it was just different, and I liked it, but slow.
Yeah.
It's a slow
I
film.
mean, I've only heard good stuff, and I'm actually really annoyed because I was going to see it one night. I even booked the ticket and everything, and it was just one of those nights where it's like, I can't be bothered leaving the house. And then I realised, oh, that was the only showing they were doing. So I was like, damn, like I would have watched it.
I would have loved to have seen it in cinema, because I think like it was really good watching it on TV. But like, when you watch something on the TV and you go, oh, that would have been even better in the movies. Like that was one of the films. But the main character is really good as well. I really liked her, and her husband as well. They were for me, they were the highlight of the movie. Even though he's not in it much, but I forget the actor's name. 1 second, John Margru, I believe it is. But and then Greta Lee. But yeah, no, honestly, it was really good. Everyone was brilliant in it.
Fair play. It is one that I've wanted to check out as well, but I'll probably will at some point.
And I think as well, most people would be like, I think a lot of people would relate to the film in some ways, or others.
Yes.
So I'd recommend this film. Out of all the films I've said, I'd recommend this one, I think, the most.
Okay, well, you've heard it here first, folks.
Past Lives.
Past
Came out
Lives.
2023.
Robert approves this message. Right. So that is our 3 films we've decided to each focus on. I think, to be honest, I'm surprised. I think we've had a good mix of like bigger films,
didn't
smaller
pick one.
films.
Or are you counting your both Godzilla ones?
Sure. I mean,
Sure.
you know what? Fuck it. You know what? Actually, yeah, I'm doing another film. I'm going to talk about another film. I'll keep it short. I mean, because I was going to do. You know what? We've been going a while. I have a bunch of films listed, and any of them I was going to talk about. I've just been picking them kind of in between your ones. I think I want to do, because it's a roundup. I think we've had our kind of 2-3 films that we want to focus on for a bit longer. I think we should do a speed run of all the rest of them that I have listed that we've seen, and we'll just quickly go through some positives, some negatives.
Can I just add one film that I bet no one else has seen but me?
On you go.
Sure.
1 second, I forgot what it's called. It's the new Chicken Run film. It's the new Chicken Run film. No, it's the new Chicken. It's like Dawn of the Nuggets or something like that. I have to say, I'm just going to say it really quick, and it's over and done with. I have never been so. My childhood heart has never been destroyed so much. And it was a beautiful film. The animation was gorgeous. The clay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'll never deny that. The storytelling was garbage, and I was heartbroken, and it was the worst childhood experience I've ever had. And
was it worse than Willow?
Oh, it's up there. It's definitely no. Well, no. Actually, I take that back. The creators who wrote the Willow TV show, you need to rethink your life, and you need to come over to me and apologize because I was really hurt by that.
Fair enough. Well, that's our first speed run then. So, next on my list, this is a big film, and to be honest, this probably would have been the next one I was going to talk about. But honestly, it's been a while, and I don't know if I would have enough to say about it. Dune Part 2.
Yeah,
I loved
it. I was going to bring that as well.
So, massive film, did really well at the box office, deserves it. Really solid film.
Absolutely.
I know your guys' opinions on it. I'll let you chime in quickly. My opinion of the first film is I've seen it once, and I liked it. I didn't know why I liked it, but I didn't love it. This one, I could love this film. I could watch this again and love it. I think you need to know things from the first film, but I don't necessarily think the first film's necessary. That might be, I don't know if that's a hot take to do.
I would not a hot take, but I would disagree with it.
But honestly, like, Dune kind of felt like I know it's a slow film, and you can say TikTok brain rot, fair enough. You know what? I'm like 24, fucking do a brain rot, who cares? But I can sit through a film, you know what I mean? But like, Dune 1 just didn't connect with me the same way the second one did. And it felt grand, and it felt like Return of the King a bit to me. Like a really big scale, really intense, kind of exciting film to watch. And I was really invested in Chalamet. I was really invested in pretty much everyone apart from Zendaya, honestly. I liked that they kind of changed up the tone a little bit, because the first one felt a bit like, I mean, this is necessary. It's Denis Villeneuve. Like, I know how he makes his films, but like, the first one is what it is, but it's just not my cup of tea. Or at least it wasn't when I watched it. And this one kind of balances all the tones a bit better, I think, where you're getting these kind of grand battles, you're getting like political drama, you're getting kind of supernatural like lore, you're getting comedy done better in this one, or like present in this one. I don't remember if there's much comedy in the first one, but like Javier Bardem's character is like a bit of relief in this film, and I really like that.
Yeah, he's great in this film.
But that's my quick summary of Dune 2. Fantastic.
That's right. I love both Dune and Dune 2. Honestly, Dune 2 is much better than the first one. I think they're both like great films, but I don't think Dune 2 is like a leap. I just think it's like a step better. And I both think they're incredible films, and I would rewatch them 100 times over. So that's my opinion.
And just a quick addendum before we get into yours, Brandon. Denis Villeneuve is like quickly becoming one of my favorite directors as well.
That's fair. That's fair.
He's really, really good. I love the way he talks about film as well. But there you go. What do you think of Dune, Ren?
My take is the first one is way overhyped and overrated, in my opinion. I don't think it does really achieves anything. I'm kind of on the same boat as you, whereas I don't think it's absolutely necessary to watch the first one. You might as well, but I don't think it adds that much. It's only like the whole betrayal and Atreides family. Like that's the only thing you really get with the first one, I think. Whereas in the second one, I think I was able to follow the story and lore and world building way more easily. You know, I understood the dynamics between the families and stuff like that. I learned people's names. Austin Butler, when I shout out to him, I think he's the best part of the film. Fight scenes were good, CGI brilliant. The only negative is really, I think there's just a lot of stuff that I'm like, the hell does that mean? Like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. Like, there's just so many like things they bring up that you just have to accept and just like move on. But there's the fact that there's so many stuff. It's just like my main one that I go to is like the freaking blue milk with the freaking worm or whatever. Like I just like what? Like there's just so many things that they introduce that I'm just like, okay, sure, just like we'll roll with it, but I'm not quite following. But I am surprised that I liked it because I wasn't too keen on the first one. So this one definitely won me over. I wouldn't say it's like a 10 out of 10 like some people are saying. I'm not going to go that far. But it's really, really solid. So yeah, that's my take.
Good stuff. Next up, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. Think of that, Brennan.
Honestly, same thing with Dune. I didn't like the first one, or at least Fury Road. I'll need to rewatch it though, because I might change my mind, because I actually really did like the world building in this film. I liked Anya Taylor-Joy and everyone else in the film. I think they all did a really good job. I actually really liked Chris Hemsworth in the film, which is kind of surprising, because in the trailers I thought he was a bit wacky, and he kind of is, but I actually do kind of find them like really charming and funny.
Another film where the trailer was absolute dog. The trailer made this film look like absolute dog shit.
Yeah, the trailer didn't do it justice. Yeah, you're right. The trailer's been morbid this year. But yeah, that's my take. Honestly, I would go and watch it, even if you didn't like the first one, which weren't a lot of people. But like, I really liked it more. Personally.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I actually think the trailer might have actually killed this film, because that's what I mean. Like, I took a look at the trailer, and if there hadn't been that kind of blip of hype around it coming out, being like, this is actually a really solid film. Like, I saw a bunch of YouTubers talking about how good this film was. That's the only reason I went to go see it. Because if they hadn't done that, I would not have seen this film. And I think that's probably what happened to a lot of people as well. Is I know Mad Max has kind of had this cult following for a long time, and that's kind of why they funded this one.
They've never made money.
But like at the same time, this trailer looked so bad, where it's like, I could see why it would put people off, and it's a shame if it has, because it doesn't represent the film well. This next one, I would be surprised if anyone is that everything for Furiosa on your part?
I saw 5 minutes of it and turned it off. That's
really?
My take. I thought it was absolute garbage. So
5 minutes.
Well, 5 minutes. You can't even tell.
Well, not 5 minutes. It was like longer than that. It was longer than 5 minutes.
Save that for next week.
No, I just.
That's a quick idea.
My thing is, I've never been able to get into the Mad Max, like series. Like it's not my cup of tea. Like when I watched the Tom Hardy one, I had to turn it off and then come back to it like a day or so later. But like it felt like I was pulling out my teeth, and this one I felt like I was pulling out my teeth the second it started, and I just couldn't like. Okay. And if you like it, fair enough, but like I just can't get into the Mad Max stuff. I will
say.
Sorry.
No, finish. Okay, I was going to say I think there was a few times in this film where the CGI was a bit shaky. I thought.
I think it's stylized though. I don't think it's like necessarily bad CGI. I think it's just like it's just the vibe they're going with.
From what I've seen, I didn't like. I don't think that passes as an art style. Like it feels like the Flash director saying the exact same comment, where it's an art style. It's like, no, that's just bad CGI.
That's just straight up bad. That's just straight up bad. Because I'm a fan of the Flash, and that's just that.
That's PTSD for me, man. I've got PTSD.
I did really like the supporting cast in this film as well. I know like Furiosa is like the main character, but she doesn't speak all that much. So like, I guess you could say she's the main character, but like, the cast that are around her as well. Like I forget his name, but the kind of guy she kind of helps out towards the end of the film. I really like their dynamic and stuff. And like you said, Chris Hemsworth is really good, which fucking surprised at because looked so dog in the trailer. But yeah, Furiosa, go see it. I wish it made money because I actually would be interested in seeing more of that. But oh well. Maybe in another 10 years they can convince maybe they can convince an executive to fund it again in 10 years. We don't know.
Probably.
Maybe George Miller will be gone by then. The next one's actually a documentary, but I really liked it, so I'm going to mention it quickly. It's the Jim Henson Idea Man, which came on to Disney Plus earlier this year. I'm a sucker for Muppets and Jim Henson, so and Ron Howard, so this was like sick. Turns out Ron Howard and me have similar tastes because he makes Beatles documentaries, he makes Jim Henson documentaries. He's like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? He's solid. But yeah, there's a really good documentary, and there was a bunch of stuff in it that I had no idea. With like, especially towards like the latter half of Jim Henson's life, I was like, bro, I didn't realize it was like that. But it made me look at him a bit different. But him just seeing him work behind the scenes and stuff like that, and like how he built it up, and like his relationship with Frank Oz, it's really, really interesting stuff. A really funny guy. Especially they show you snippets of like old cartoons of how he got his start. They're fucking hilarious, and they're like 3 seconds long. So definitely check that out.
I'm just annoyed because I'm the one that recommended it. I've not even seen it.
But Disney Plus documentaries have kind of been popping off, you know, like The Beatles Get Back was sick, and like Let It Be remastered sick. Jim Henson's sick. The Beach Boys one I've heard is pretty good as well. So
I like all their behind the scenes stuff, like the Marvel Star Wars stuff as well. Like, actually, I'm a big fan of all that stuff. But that's just because I like that sort of vibe of behind the scenes, and I like seeing that stuff. So it's not even like because it's good. It's just that I'm just like enjoying seeing that. But no, I need to check out.
But yeah, the Muppets are kind of odd. You either like them or you don't. So obviously, I can't recommend this to everyone. But like, you know, if you even remotely like the Muppets, as a quick addendum, the Electric Teeth show on Disney Plus is also really good. That's a bit older though. Next film up for me. This is all in the good category, by the way. So we're going to get to the mid and then the shit films. Inside Out 2, probably the newest film on this list. Thought it was all right, pretty good. I probably like it a little bit better than the first one, but it's pretty much the same as the first film. So that's my take.
Yeah, I'm like similar. I prefer the first one a lot more, but I still like the film. But it's just the same, isn't it? It's just the same film. So. And I only give it a big negative for that because in Pixar we've had sequels like Toy Story and even Cars where it completely changes the narrative and like adds new aspects of the film, whereas this film was literally just the same of like, oh, we need to overcome this emotion. How do we do that? By embracing it. You know, it's like, okay, like it's the same thing. It's just so you know, so it's just, there's nothing new, you know, and you don't even get to see different aspects. Like, I mean, there's a couple. I don't want to go too long a bit, but there was some good jokes, especially with the dad. Ryan, I actually think we missed one in the credits. Is actually a really funny joke as well, which I think we missed the first time round. But yeah,
I'll look it up after we're done.
The dad is
you'll need to look it up. He's really good. It's still a funny film, especially with anger as well. He's always been a laugh.
But also, I think just in general. Oh yeah, you saw it first. Well, I'll be very quick, Robert. Sorry. It kind of felt a little bit like back on form for Pixar for me. That's probably why I'm viewing it so positively, is because the last few films they've released, not even the last few, the last chunk, they've been pretty shit.
Era.
So yeah, they've been pretty shit. So this one felt a little bit. This one didn't feel, obviously, it's not like 07, 08 Pixar. No, it's not Ratatouille, but like, you know, it felt like it was a budge in the right direction, and yeah. I'm happy about that. So.
For me, I have never been a fan of the Inside Out, like for the first one, and I didn't enjoy it, but I appreciate that it's actually like a good film, but it's not my type of film. So
Robert's just a misogynist, and he hates kids.
Yeah, facts. No,
it's not going to be for everyone, you know.
What's that?
It's not going to be for everyone, so I do see your point. Like, I'm not even like.
It's a
argue with
very
that.
I thought it was a massive step up animation wise from the first one. Like I thought there was some scenes where I was like, wow, that's shot or like animated really well, and it looked really nice. And I like the concept. But I don't know. It's just one of those films where I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's all right. It's fine. It's nothing. It's nothing that I wouldn't go out to watch it again.
No, that's fair.
Oh, fair. Absolutely fair. Okay, I have 2 films left on my good films list. One is One Life. I actually can't remember too much about this film in terms of like major positives, major negatives. I just remember really liking the film.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I've seen it.
Obviously, Anthony
I don't think you
Hopkins.
did. I don't think you did.
Oh,
No, it was good. It was good. Like,
But no, yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's like a solid period piece, told well. That you don't really need to say much more. Like his performance is great. That you knew the bit at the end was coming. It got me. I knew it was coming, and it got me.
It's in the trailer.
Like, yeah, the trailer got me, so I knew the film was going to get me. So yeah, just solid film, and it's like a film. I don't know, like a lot of these films, like Iron Claw and stuff like that. Like I feel like I could recommend it to my mum or my gran, and this one's probably top of that list for like recommend to your gran. Like your gran will love this film. Your mum will love this film. You'll like this film. You know, it's good stuff.
A big positive I feel like not a lot of people have been saying is I think the casting was really good for the younger version of him as well. I think he like really played them well, like a young Anthony Hopkins. I thought he was pretty good.
Who was it that played?
I don't know. I've already looked it now, but
because I know I really wanted to see the film, but I never got around to it for some odd reason.
But no, it's a really like, even though it deals with like a lot of like sad stuff about like the war and stuff, it's still like a feel good film at the end of the day. You know, it's still got that feel goodness by the end. But like, I mean, we all know the story, you know. Johnny Flynn, by the way, that's the guy who plays him.
John E. Flynn. He plays the kind of old granddad type that you know he's been through some shit, but he just doesn't talk about it. He plays that like perfectly, where it's just like things happened, they didn't go well. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. It happened 70 years ago. We're done. Like,
yeah,
you know, he does that really well.
I think Anthony Hopkins is like he can be given a role, and for me personally, I trust that he will deliver it every single time, because there's like.
I don't know if just a quick add to that point. This is going to sound bad, right? But I don't know if it's because he's a little bit funny looking. You can kind of buy into him being a character.
Yeah. It's like Willem Dafoe and stuff. Like, there's just actors like that kind of like mold into the role. You know?
Yeah.
Like.
Yep.
You know.
Because
I tell you what, that's a hell of a segue for my next film. But say what you're going to say, Robert.
Oh God.
well, I was just going to say it's like for example, I trust that. Even like Viola Davis, like even though she may not be in like the best films, when she's not, she's always the highlight of the film for me personally.
Yeah, she's always good in them. Yeah.
Yeah, like she's always good, and that for me it's like Joaquin Phoenix, and Anthony Hopkins and like William Dafoe. Like you trust them, you trust that they'll. I know Napoleon's kind of a mixed for Joaquin at the moment.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah, so that's my take on a film I haven't seen. Is I trust Anthony.
Truly a white woman putting your opinion into something you don't know.
Yes. I was raised by my mother.
I'm joking. For legal reasons, that was a joke. White woman. Okay, so actually I have 2 more films. So I don't want to talk about that film yet. So keeping on the train of people who kind of are a bit odd looking and it kind of lets you buy into it, that was like one of the major positives I had for Late Night with the Devil. I was going to talk about this as like a fuller review earlier on, but then I thought, you guys haven't seen it, and most of the films I've talked about you haven't seen, so it's a bit boring, but this film is effectively filmed like the end of Joker, but that's the whole film. It's like TV show. It's like Murray from Joker. It's like 70s TV show host, late night, but then spooky things happen. And I kind of like that. I'm really interested in that period in history, and I know a lot about it. And like even like the supernatural side stuff as well, like the kind of weird. They go into like culty stuff, but it's also like of its time, so it feeds in really like well. So they bring up like Bohemian Grove, if you know what that is. That's like a major point in this, and there's a character in it clearly inspired by like he's a magician who's a skeptic who goes around like kind of exposing frauds and charlatans on TV and stuff, and the like one of the guys in the show is clearly inspired by like James Randi, who he was a magician who went on to do things like that and kind of exposed these like mediums and all that kind of stuff on live TV, like Uri Geller. But he had like a $1 million prize for anyone who could prove they were supernatural, and that's like a point in this as well. But the main guy is David Malchin. Oh, I can't spell that name. I can't say that name. But he's the guy he's an Ant-Man. He's in the crew, and he's the guy who writes the report on Oppenheimer. He's also in Inception.
Who does he play in Ant-Man?
He's like the Russian guy. Dmitri, is he? No, not Dmitri.
Oh,
Fuck.
Oh,
The black-haired guy.
in Prisoners as well.
He's also in the second Suicide Squad, Polka Dot guy.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Can I just say, he is such an underrated actor. Him in Dark Knight, I totally forgot he's in Dark Knight Rises, or Dark Knight, sorry. And I was like, whoa.
And this is a major point of this film, is that I know he does have, and actually now that you mention it, he does have a bit more variety than I remember, but when I was watching the film, I was like, man, I've never seen this guy do this before. But he's kind of got like a bit of, because obviously he's playing into like the 70s TV show host, a bit like Dick Cavett or like Johnny Carson and stuff like that. So it's a bit, I don't know, it's different from like TV show hosts today, but it's still got that kind of awkward, like scripted feel. But he's really good at it, and he's really good at like, you can tell like if he was on TV, like yeah, he'd have a show. He's really got that kind of charm about him. But he also is a weird looking fucker. So like you go back to those old like shows and it's like Johnny Carson's not a looker, and neither is Dick Cavett. You know what I mean? Like balding men, like not lookers, but like this guy fits into it well. And that's not a diss on David, you know? Like he's just not one of those actors like Brad Pitt or something. And it works really well in this. It helps you like get into it. I'll say major positives. The practical effects are really great. The CGI effects are really shit. So if they just did a bit more, I know obviously the budget probably wasn't big for this, but like the practical effects are actually really good, and they kind of like, they're obviously like inspired by The Thing and stuff like that. So they're really impressive. But then other things, like there's a lot of CG that's a bit there, like too much, I feel like, and especially for how closed the film is, like how tight it is, and you're only in this one kind of room, like the actual like show stage. I didn't really like how far they went with a lot of the CG, but the practical effects are really impressive. I like them, and all the references settle you into the film really well. It does a really good job of like getting you in the vibe of like, oh, you're sitting watching a TV in the 70s, you know? Really good at that. And also there's some really good untapped meme potential at the end of the film where I'm like, bro, how have I not seen this on my like For You page? Like, this is great stuff. So, The Net with the Devil, pretty good.
I didn't hear that.
It's about possession and stuff. It's like exorcism style stuff, like that kind of stuff. So it's nothing particularly unique in that sense, but it's like it's good at what it does, I guess.
Yeah.
Except from the end, but yeah, pretty good. Final good film from me. I don't know. You guys might have other films. I mean, The Creator's in my mid films, but I guess I had a positive view on that earlier. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, that would have been one of my three, but I thought Past Lives was better.
Again, another one hard. Like, I think when people are like, you know what I mean? Like when you watch a Scorsese film, it's really hard to critique it if it's a good one, you know?
Yeah.
Like Silence or something like that. It's like, how the fuck do you critique that film? Like, you can not like it, but it's like, it's hard to pick apart. Like, this is kind of the same where it's like, Killers of the Flower Moon, it's like, could it have been a half hour shorter? Probably. But like, am I gonna like, you know, go up to Scorsese and be like, oh, you wasted a half hour of my time? It's like, no, probably not, because you know what I mean, he made a film. But like, I don't know. I wasn't totally sold on DiCaprio in this film.
Oh, sorry. Am I a little bit delayed? Or?
No, on you go.
No, I was going to say, when you say the whole half hour thing, like, yeah, you could argue, like, well, he knows better than me, but like, I would argue the film didn't do good in box office. You could say that's because it was a bloody 4-hour film almost. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, that's a turn off for a lot of people. So it's like, that's what I mean, where you should kind of yeah, make your film, but also be aware of like, are people actually gonna watch this? You know what I mean? Like, because I like the film, and even I was like burnt out.
That's fair.
You know, I'm like, because it's a slow-paced film as well. It's not like it's a fast-paced
Yeah.
like, Avatar or something. It's like, no, this is a slow film. You know, so it's like it does feel long, even though it is good. Like it's all well acted, it all looks good. I'm invested, but it's a long one. It's like Irishman, man. Like put
See,
that on
It's an
Netflix.
investment.
I disagree with that personally. I personally thought it was a really well paced film. Like I didn't feel burnt out at all. Like I felt that it was just good pacing the whole time. Like I didn't feel like I was there for 4 hours. Sorry, like I felt like I was there for like an hour or two. So, but then again, I am also known for like going to go and see the Lord of the Rings extended edition in cinema and watching Avatar: Way of the Water like 6 times in a row. So like maybe I'm a bit desensitized to long cinema stuff. But
I do think Scorsese usually. I've been getting really into like some of his older films recently. One thing that surprises me about the films he makes recently is it seems like he makes films that are made by a younger director. When you watch a film like that, you don't think, especially or like something like Silence. I don't know. I don't envision like an 80-year-old guy behind the camera. You know what I mean? It feels like something like young and fresh, I guess. And this is kind of the same thing where it's like, I know obviously he has his usual hitters with like DiCaprio and De Niro and stuff like that. Like they're always there. It doesn't feel like a film made by like such an old guy to me, which I always find impressive with him.
Can I just ask a question on what your opinions on De Niro is?
In the film,
Just in general when it comes to films, because I feel like I'm always like, for me, I really like him for the most part, but sometimes I think he's like way overhyped. But I don't know if I'm just like not if he's just not my type of actor.
I don't know if I've seen him enough in his prime to be like picking him apart. I think
I'm kind of the same. I've not seen him enough to properly judge him, but I do think he's one of those actors that are like, because he was so good in the early days, he's just got the stigma around him now, where it's like, oh yeah, it's Robert De Niro, like whatever. You know, I feel like
he was in Shark Tale.
Are the same. He's in Shark Tale. I thought he was good in it though. That's what I mean though. I think Leonardo was he was good in the film. I don't think there was any standouts in the film, acting wise. The wife was good. She was nominated for.
She was. I thought she was the best part of the film.
Yeah.
Personally,
Yeah.
but I thought Leo was really good. I forgot that I was watching Leo. Like
it was different for him as well.
Yeah, because he was just one like weird looking acting character,
hillbilly motherfucker. Yeah.
But like I really liked it. Like it totally took me out of like, oh, this is Leo. Like I didn't once process that it was Leo DiCaprio. So I liked it.
But yeah, I mean, like I've been recently watching like I say some of his older ones like Taxi Driver again and Raging Bull and stuff like that.
Yeah.
De Niro's like he's he's good in those. So I don't know, but I don't think I've seen him enough. Like I say, like when he was getting clout. But yeah, I mean, Colors of Flower Moon is a hard one to. I don't know. It's a hard one to recommend because like you do have to make an investment. But then if it's a Scorsese film, like you probably know that already. Like The Irishman's the same, like you say. It's a fucking long film, but like.
Yeah.
I think he's just such an old guy now. It's like he just makes those long films because he's like, well, if people don't see them, people don't see them. But I'm going to make them that way. So fair play to him.
And he's got such a cult following as well that he knows people are going to go see it.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. I mean, I'm not necessarily a fan of Apple in general, but like, I guess it's nice to have another player on the field where you're getting these films where I guess they are just giving him money and letting him do what he wants.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the other example from Apple that was, but there was definitely another film came out, and it's like, I mean, it's Apple original. It's like it goes to cinemas and then it goes on Apple Plus. It's like fair enough, all good.
Sweet.
Mid films, you might disagree with this, Robert. The Fall Guy.
No, that's fair.
Thought it was pretty mid. To be fair, I went in with pretty high expectations because I got on a real like Ryan Gosling train recently, as well, and I think if I was gonna like just have like my major point about the film in like one sentence, it was just like the whole hype for me going into this was like it's made by a stuntman. You know what I mean? Like he's like the director, so this is like about the stunts, and the stunts are really impressive behind the scenes. And I actually found that my favorite bit of the film was the credits when they showed you the behind the scenes of how they did the stunts. Um, because for me, the stunts were really impressive behind the scenes, but they didn't look all that impressive on screen. They weren't filmed in a way that emphasized how, like, that kind of Tom Cruise doing his like batshit stunts on the plane. They didn't leave the camera anywhere where it was like, oh shit, you can't fake this. Like, this is a real stunt.
Yeah,
And that was my major issue with the big stunt at the end of the film when he jumps out of the helicopter onto the thing. It's like, you've cut about 4 times, so it's like you could have fell 10 feet. You know what I mean? Like, for all I knew, it's like if you just left that as one shot, like, bliss, you know. And it just felt like it was filmed wrong for at least what I wanted from the film. And I really, like, because I'm thinking like the car chase with him on the back in the kind of skip, like that's a really interesting fight. And I actually liked the fight, the way it was choreographed and stuff, but it just wasn't shot in that interest in a way where you look at the behind the scenes and you're like, shit, they actually did that. That's cool. But you don't think that in the film. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't really.
No, I agree with you. I think it personally just fell into like just an action film, like nothing like Argyle, where it was just kind of these like cool stunt scenes.
Just to quickly preface, it was much better than Argyle, but I know what you mean.
yeah. But like, there was nothing like what stands out more about Argyle fight scenes than Fall Guys fight scenes. Like, there's not.
Yeah, like, there's definitely nothing, a style, that kind of John Wick, Bullet Train type, like Matthew Vaughn type fighting style. It's very in that kind of realm.
Which it isn't a bad thing. Like, if people are there just to watch that, then that's totally fair. But no, I agree with you. Like, I really liked Fall Guy. I thought it was a really just fun action film. Like, I can put my brain cells away, and like I can just watch and not think. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, to be fair. And actually, Ryan Gosling, like, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen Barbie, but you might hate me for that. But even like The Nice Guys and stuff like that, like, he's got a real like good comedic streak in him.
Yeah.
And that's on show here. And him and Emily Blunt are really good. They have really good chemistry. But like, I just don't know. The action just didn't really do it for me, even though it was like all real. And that's like my bread and butter. But I don't think it was filmed in a way that got all the potential out of that.
No, that's fair.
Anything to add on Fall Guy?
I just wish I saw it.
Just wish you saw it.
It was just one of those films where I was like, "Oh, I'll get to it," and then I just never did. So,
the next one, I don't even know if you guys have seen. Very brief, Mid, Haunting in Venice.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Realistically, Mid is probably the best descriptor for that film, in my opinion. There's not much else to say.
It's I think they've fallen since the first one. Like,
I haven't even seen the other two, to be honest. I just watched this one on a whim. But like,
the first one's it's a good solid murder mystery. There's like a couple things where you're like, how? But what murder mystery doesn't do that? But like,
I'm actually really interested in. It's been in my bag for a long time, but it's expensive. For a film, is the original Murder on the Orient Express from like the 70s. I think it's like Sidney Lumet that made it, but that one's meant to be really good as well. So I've been wanting to watch that.
Honestly, the first one is a solid like 7 film. Like, it's enjoyable. It's a murder mystery on a train. Like, what more do you want? But this one was very like, it was good. It hit all the ticks, but it wasn't anything.
Kenneth Branagh's makeup continues to be fucking amazing, but yeah. And his French accent's fucking terrible, great, but
I love it though. It's brilliant.
It does think to be fair, him doing French does something for me that Daniel Craig doing Kentucky in Knives Out doesn't.
No, I agree, because I don't like Daniel Craig's accent in Knives Out, but in these 2 films, he it feels like someone's like massaging my brain. It's nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is keep talking.
A nice French massage.
Yeah.
Right. That's everything I have in Mid, and we're about to go into shit. I've probably missed out films because there's not too much here, but there's been a lot of shit. So, in my opinion, these films are shit, and I probably won't watch them again.
We're on the same page with them as well, so I don't think it's going to be any hot takes here.
Everything up to this point pretty much has been good. I will watch again, if not watch many times.
Can I just quickly, because I personally think Argyle isn't shit, and I think Argyle's
Okay, fair enough.
Can I quickly
I've
put
only
that
seen
next?
half of Argyle because I turned it off when Samuel Jackson turned up. Not
Right,
because
that's
of him, but I was just done with the film at that point.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
It wasn't
Because-
egregiously bad. It was just I wasn't into it.
I think Argyle was actually really fun with a lot of stupid plot twists. And I think it was just a really fun, silly film and nothing more. I think people have like gone way overboard with it. And like I think it's actually enjoyable. The worst thing about it is the CGI. It is shockingly bad.
It is really bad, yeah. And it's really bad at the start as well, which is really bad because it puts you in a bad mood for like what's to come.
Yeah, but other than that, I think it's actually like everything else complements it pretty well. Like I wouldn't put it anything higher than a 6, but it's fun.
I've yet to see Sam Rockwell in a film where I didn't like him. So
he's brilliant.
He's got the Christopher Lee he's got the Christopher Lee in him where it's like you can be in a bad film, just don't be bad in the film.
Yeah.
The next film I have up here it's in the shit film category, and I've written shit next to it in quotations, so I obviously really didn't like it. Is Napoleon. Napoleon was really shit for me. I was so hyped, and in the first 20 minutes I was like, man, this is the dogs fucking nuts. This is good stuff.
I think we have different reasons why we like or dislike the film, though. It's not like just straight up like, you know.
Yeah. Why don't you give like why you didn't like it first, and then I'll go into why I didn't.
Me.
Just quickly, yeah.
I'm a bit on the middle road. I don't hate it. I don't like it. I think the acting's fine. The issue with me is I don't really know much about Napoleon or the history in general, unlike you might. So I'm not like offended if they do something wrong until I find out afterwards. But in the moment, I'm like, whatever. It's more just like I'm confused with what's going on. Like, why are people doing certain things? What does this mean? What are the stakes? Like, I don't really know. I mean, it's hard to not like Joaquin Phoenix because he's just a fantastic actor. But he was alright in the film. I actually like the what's her face better.
Kirby
who played his wife, Vanessa Kirby.
Vanessa,
but maybe it's just got a big crush on her, and it's just bias.
No, she was definitely the highlight of the movie. I felt like.
Well, that's my take. I've not got many hot takes or wild ones. Just kind of mid.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in shit. Personally, I would have put it in mid because I thought the acting was totally. I had no issue with the acting whatsoever in that film. I liked everybody in it. My only thing about that film is I did not feel like it was like I didn't feel like it knew what it was doing. Like it was just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Like there was no story, but there was a story, but then there wasn't, and it was just this like
It is a bit confused, and there's definitely something to be said for people releasing films in a state in a inferior state, and then saying, "Oh, wait 6 months and watch the 4-hour cut. It's better." Like,
screw that.
No good. Just bring out the 4-hour cut, or bring out both at the same time, or some shit like that. Like, don't make me pay money for an unfinished piece. You know.
At least with Mark Scorsese, he releases the film. You know what I mean? Like, he finishes the film.
I'll tell you why I think it's shit personally. One, I don't think the acting's bad. In fact, I don't think there's much bad acting in the film at all, if any. I think what they've been given to Act 2 is dog shit. My main problem is that when you go see like Elvis, you might not necessarily like Elvis when you go in, but you're probably interested in Elvis by the time you come out. You go, or at least you go, why? Oh, I get why he's the king. Like, he's Elvis Presley, you know? This film, if you showed this to someone, there's no reason for them to come out the film and go, Napoleon was the shit, you know? Like, there's like 7 coalitions of, like, separate coalitions of countries had to come together to bring him down. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get that moment where you're like, man, this guy is the shit in Europe and he is dominating. Like, you don't get that. You just get him, like, angry fucking his wife. And it's like, all right, we're doing the short man act, are we? Like, fine. There's definitely some highlights where it's like the bit where he comes back, he returns to Paris after his exile,
I like that.
and he wins the soldiers over. That's the Napoleon I want to see on screen, you know?
That's my favorite team. Yeah.
Yeah, probably me too. And like him being at the battle and in the very beginning and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, it's like he's there on his feet. He's getting the respect of his soldiers. That's why he's doing well. And part of it's like I'm a bit more interested in like the strategy and stuff like that as well. I'm not like war gamer, you know, but like I like that's the reason he did well, is that he had these kind of innovative tactics. Like, I'm not going to bore you, but he had these kind of like small pockets of like his army like spread about, and they had this kind of like network of communication that no other army had, you know. So it's like he had a very fast mobilization in his strategy, and it's like even just to like bring that, you don't have to explain that as like, you don't have to like bring that in as like exposition. You don't have to bring it in as like heavy exposition. It's like, this is why Napoleon was innovative, and it's like, just show us him doing it. Where it's like the British are coming in and their big army, and they're like, oh, look at him, and it's like, you know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, they retreat away or whatever, the small group of French, and it's like, oh, that's all the French sent, whatever, and they go chase after them, and it's like, oh, they're surrounded because they went back and communicated, and this whole army's here now, and it's like, you know what I mean? He's really like a great problem solver on his feet and stuff, and it's like, you never came out of that film going, oh, Napoleon, great problem solver. Napoleon, like, great leader, like, fantastic strategist, like, dominator of Europe. You know, you never came out of that film thinking those things. You came out of that film thinking, short man syndrome, simp. You know, like it's probably like those aspects can be integrated into the like character Napoleon, but like your whole film about that, like, really? Like, I don't even know why he chose to make this film at that point.
Imagine if they did that with Oppenheimer. If it was just about his like wife and his like relationship, it's like, no, let's learn about like the tactician, you know, like the tactician that was the. It's nice to see the dynamic with the wife and stuff, because that opens up a little bit of vulnerability and stuff. But we're here to see like the freaking tactician that's Napoleon, not like that. But it's like, that's what I mean, like. I didn't mind seeing that stuff, you know, but...
Napoleon was hundreds of years ago, you know? Like, why do we remember his name? This film does not get across that point, you know?
Yeah.
It does not do it, and that's the worst thing it does. Yeah. And it's, I mean, the battles look fine. Some of them look really good, to be fair.
They do, to be fair. They do.
But I'm not, you know, the thing is, I'm going to be doing a series, and this will come in a little bit later. I'm going to come back to this film, later on for a separate like video on historical stuff. I'm not die hard, this needs to be 100% historically accurate. I'm fine with creative liberty and stuff like that, but I just can't understand, like, because a big part of these videos I want to be doing is like, when historical accuracy is put to the side, what is that in favor of, you know? Like, is it character? Is it plot? Does it like tidy up the story? Fair enough, right? But none of the decisions that Ridley Scott seems to make in this film that brush aside historical accuracy seem to benefit anything else. It's still just a muddled mess. So I don't know exactly why he chose to make this film. I don't know why he made it this way. Like, even in the first 5-10 minutes, it's skipping time quite like frequently, and it's not exactly grounding you in each time period like particularly well, because I'm not like, I like history, but I'm not particularly interested in Napoleonic history. So I know like bits about it, you know, and bits about him and like the general brushstrokes, but I'm definitely not an expert. You probably already know that if you are. But even like there was like some time jump right after the Marie Antoinette killing, I think, like murder, where it doesn't even give a date. It just says, oh, the night after the whatever, like this bloodbath, whatever, like this night, and it's like, yeah, but nobody knows when that is unless you already know about Napoleon. And if you already know about Napoleon, why would you come see this film? Like, unless it was to see him do what he did well. And it's like, you're not pleasing anyone with this. And it's like, that's why it's fallen by the wayside and nobody talks about it, because it's shit. So that's my take.
There you go. All
a little bit longer than I was hoping, but
all different
yes, but grinds my gears. But we have a new series coming up. The first video is going to be Hacksaw Ridge, but Napoleon will probably be, I don't know, it'll be in there somewhere. I'm not in a rush to see it again. So
maybe
next one on the shit stuff. Yeah, maybe when I see that, I'll do a video on that. Next one for me, shit. I mean, this could probably go in mid, but like, I thought it was pretty shit. FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's. I actually really like the lore of the games, but what's that?
It was just
truly one of the films. It was one of the films last year.
Yeah, I honestly,
year?
I'll never
Last year.
I'll never watch that film again. I would never turn it off, but I would never
Yeah.
watch it.
Big positive. They did really well with the practical
Yes.
puppets, like
Animatronics and stuff.
the animatronics.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Whenever they were CG, you could tell, and it was all right. It wasn't bad, like the cupcake, but like I'm fine with that. You know, it looked good most of the part, and I just wish the story was a bit better. The story's a bit dire, but
yeah.
And I'm not even a big fan of the game either, so it's not like I'm offended. It was just so mid. It just so mid, and it wasn't even funny that much either. You know, so it's like
no,
they even capitalize on that.
I will say the funniest part of that film is at the very end when it's like, "Who's the golden bunny rabbit?" and it's like, well, your guy from Hunger Games is the main character, so it's not him. The policewoman you've introduced, she's on screen, so it's not her. It must be the one other adult character you've actually introduced in this film, William Afton. Like, all right, really? Yeah, sure. Like, why even make it? I feel like that whole film revolved around that reveal, but people who played the games knew that was coming. Anyone with common sense knew that was coming because he's the only other guy in the film. So, like, why build your whole show around your whole film around? I was spilling a bit of acolyte there. Why build your whole film around a twist? It doesn't make sense that everyone already knows is coming. So, yeah, a bit of a shame because I actually really like FNAF, but oh well. Matt Pat cameo though, I'll take that.
That was fun.
Rest in peace, Game Theory. Next up on the shit films, The Marvels. Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Really, you put that in shit?
It was shit. I had a good time watching it, but it's a shit film. Like,
fair enough. I put it mid.
It has the worst villain I think the MCU's ever seen.
You've turned me on that. I completely disagreed with you at first.
No,
but I've
no
changed.
way.
Yeah.
She has no unique characteristics, all her powers come from things that already exist in the MCU. She's boring. She has no character. She has no chemistry with anyone. Her motives are dumb, and she dies like a fucking balloon at the end. Like,
what about the Thor, the second one in Thor?
I think he originally was the worst, but
I think he's the second worst.
You know what it is? You know what it is? We bring him up so much that he's not the worst anymore. At least like we know him. You know, this person is gonna be forgotten.
Give me your name. Give me your name.
Dude, I couldn't even give you a name of like my favorite movie. Don't give me that question. That's like I don't do names. Names isn't a thing.
Really big. I was generous to this film because when I went and seen it, I was in the mood to go just see a film. I was burnt out, and I was like, I'm just going to go see a film on IMAX, and I did, and I had a fun time, but this is not a good film. Like,
I think it's tough because there are genuinely things I do like about it. Like, I think Carol Danvers is actually the best she's ever been in this film as well.
This is her best appearance,
yeah. But there are some bad things like that song Planet. I did not like that. It's cringe. That I didn't mind it at first, and then it got old.
I liked the idea of it, but they didn't do it well.
They didn't do none with it either. It was just like, oh, let's go to the Singy Planet. All right.
But yeah, like Kamala Khan, I think we all liked her in the film.
She was good, yeah.
The other girl kind of just fell flat a little bit.
Samuel Jackson. How the fuck this tonally fits up with Secret Invasion? I have no clue.
No clue.
The whole spaceship stuff, pish. Samuel Jackson, pish. The parents, pish.
The
cats, pish.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
The thing is, like, that's what I mean. Like, I don't hate the film, so it's just like mid by proxy. But it's like I still had an okay time with it. You know, I still enjoyed it for what it was. But I feel like that's me giving them pity points.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, the thing is, I enjoyed it when I watched it the first time. I probably won't enjoy it the next time I watch it, if I ever do. So that's why I'm judging it now. Okay, we'll rattle through the last few then. So Aquaman 2, I don't really want to talk about this film. I just want to say
that was the worst film of the year.
I forgot that came out. I can't believe
no, I take that back. It's not the worst film of the year. It's the second worst film of the year.
Well, that's enough said about that.
Speaking of, poor things.
Yeah.
Oh.
This could be taken as a hot take.
Now, you may think this is a beautiful film. You may think this was an artistic expression. I would say just because he's Greek doesn't mean he gets to be a pedo in film. So, you know, like, I don't like this film. It's weird. I remember saying to myself, and I've told you guys this, but this is for the audience now. This is going to be real frank, right? At the start of this film, when she's like a young girl in her head, and she's like chewing up her food and all that, and I said to myself, I was watching on the couch, and I physically said out loud, if she chews this up and spits this out, I'll fucking kill myself. That's what I said to myself. And then she chews it up and spills it out, and I was like, you know what? Fucking may as well then. You know what I mean? Like what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Because I hate this wackiness for the sake of wackiness or quirkiness for quirkiness' sake. Like, fair enough. Like, be absurdist, whatever you want, but like, don't make me fucking like watch this shit. This is pish. And then like blowing bubbles. It's like, motherfucker, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. Like, I obviously just don't get it. But if it's about like prostitution with like totally abusive people, like I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, I get your message. It's not like I'm oblivious to the message you're trying to get across.
That's the thing. It's not like we're not getting it. Like, I get it. I just don't like it. You know,
I think.
Do you want to like comment on her performance as well? Because like she got the Oscar for it, right?
That's true.
I thought everyone's performance was brilliant. Like, they all played the characters well. Like, I hate Mark Hamill. Mark
Hamill just catching strays, yeah.
No, I love him. No, but like, he made me physically. Well, all the men bar William Dafoe made me physically sick watching them on screen. Like,
that's the point, Robert. You just don't get it.
No,
yeah,
I
bullshit.
No, but like they did it so well that like I felt. And the story as well makes me feel really sick anyway. So it's like, but no, I thought everyone did brilliant. I thought
I'm just sick and tired of this is artistic because there's nudity in it. It's like, yeah, sure, all right, give your fucking high horse.
It's a bit uncomfortable as well. You know,
yeah, it's really uncomfortable to watch.
It's just, yeah, you know, just
like,
yeah.
And like we say, we get it. We get it. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable.
It's odd. It's just like, because like, for example, like, this would be my official point on this. Like, I've got people at work who say this was their favorite film of the year, and it's like, I understand like what you're saying. I just can't see why you'd enjoy that film. You know, and you could say the same about me and Iron Claw, where it is a tragic, miserable film, but there's a difference. You know what I mean? There's not points at watching Iron Claw where I'm like freaking visibly gagging. You know, it's like you know, just like. You know, but you know, maybe some people like that. So, but yeah.
I mean, positives. I did like some of the prosthetics. No, yeah. Search history of anyone who likes that film should be thoroughly scrutinized. Especially the director. I guarantee that director. Fuck, there's something up with that boy.
Yeah,
that's not his first time doing this as well. There's been other films where he's
that's a great. Not great.
Yeah,
that's a stupid move to do, I think, personally.
Yeah.
But positives, I like the prosthetics on Willem Dafoe. I like probably the makeup and production in general is really good. There's some nice visuals, but
I love the clouds. I thought the clouds were always gorgeous.
I just didn't think there was much substance to it, honestly. I thought it was substance for people who don't know what substance is. Could I make a better film? Probably not. Am I allowed to say so? Yeah. Okay, last up, I probably should have finished with Poor Things so it's more exciting, but last up on my list anyway, unless you guys can think of anything else, is Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. Another film I forgot even existed until I looked up what films came out last year.
I refuse to watch it.
Didn't watch.
I fucking love Ghostbusters. And, well, I've always liked Ghostbusters. I watched it recently, I was like, that's a banging fucking film, the first one. Really good. This one, nah, not so good.
I only like the very first Ghostbusters film, and then every other one I've watched it once and I won't go back. If you wanna claim an inside joke, like Final Fantasy, the best thing about this film was the trailer.
Damn.
It's my favorite thing about this film. Yeah,
the
trailer was pretty good. Yep, he better be. He better listen to this whole thing, or at least skip to the end and heard this.
Yeah.
Hi. I like the tone in the trailer. I like the tone at some points in this film, but it never really sticks with it. It just kind of things happen, characters do things because the plot needs to happen. people who are kind of interested in the last film aren't really that interested in this film. Doesn't really push the envelope very much. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm not looking for Ghostbusters to push the envelope like Poor Things does. I'm just looking. I'm just looking for
Ghostbusters.
just looking for a good Ghostbusters romp. They're back in New York. Is it exciting? No. I think the tone of the film from the get go is kind of off, or something's off, because like the car chase through New York, I'm like, bro, that's not Ghostbusters, bro. Like, it's a car chase with ghosts, and you know what I mean? Like, it feels very like what do people like? People like car chases, right? Yeah. Let's put a car chase with guns on it. It's like that wasn't the last film, and like it's not a good opener for a Ghostbusters film. Ghostbusters is like, you know what I mean? It takes a little bit to get going. Like just have a bit of breathing room, you know? Like set up the problem, you know? Like you don't have to rush into it. Yeah, villain's a bit shit. Can't even remember who it is. There's a lot of scenes. I think this was really bad for reshoots. This film. There's a lot of stuff in the trailer that wasn't in or like re-edits at least. There's a lot of like different outfits that people are wearing in the same shots, and like shots that are removed, and jokes that are removed, and stuff like that. Like Paul Rudd's always on form, but like
That's fair.
yeah. And
it's just a shame because I actually really like the last one that they did. It's just a shame they didn't, like, you know, use that as a stepping stone, but it clearly didn't. No, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah.
I was gonna watch it until you guys were just like, "Oh, that's bad." I was like, "Yeah, can't be arse then." Like, I just not meant to see a bad film.
And Bill Murray turned up on the day.
There you go.
He definitely turned up.
Turned up, as he does. So, well, I mean, there's one last film you forgot to mention, and that was
Madam Web, mate.
And
well,
you know, let's just say it's probably the worst film I've ever seen, or like at least made film that I've ever seen, like the worst made film, because there's literally zero substance to that film, and I feel like most people agree.
Mate, I'm not arguing. It is literally awful.
Yeah, if you thought Venom was bad, or like Carnage or whatever, this is a new low. Like, this is whoa. Like,
for me, there was only one good thing about this film, and that's like that's the only reason I give it 1 out of 10, and that's Uncle Ben. That's it. That's the only reason.
I didn't even know it was Uncle Ben till the end of the film.
That's mad.
I just didn't click in my brain that this was a Spider-Man film, so I was like, oh yeah, freaking Spider-Man's in the series. Yeah, garbage. I'd rather not even talk about it because it's actual terrible. But
well, the reason it wasn't on the list, I haven't seen it. So there you go.
Probably best as well.
All right. Well,
and I have no intention of. But well, we've been going for a little while, and that is the end of my list. Sounds like it's the end of your lists.
Yeah.
So, anything to round off?
Well, let's hope we keep this up. This is a new start.
Let's hope this guy. We're committed. We're in a new committed relationship to this.
Got PCs now.
Yeah. So unless it burns down and I die, we're doing this. Yeah. So we're back. Hopefully, weekly episodes again. Next week will probably be Acolyte, because Acolyte finishes next week. Yay!
Yeah. Yay!
Do you want me to say my opinion of Acolyte now?
We'll get a soundbite for you next week. We'll get like soundbite.
Yeah. So that to look forward to, everyone. If you're seeing this before the episode comes out, enjoy episode 8. It's gonna be a real treat. And shut the fuck up. So
we never said that actually. I don't think. I can't believe you've seen it said on the show.
They wouldn't dare. No, I think they have.
Oh yeah.
So yep, Acolyte will be the kind of main focus of next week. We'll obviously be talking about some other films as well. So yeah, check back in next week for Acolyte finale. Well, we'll be doing the whole series, but after the finale. And check out the channel. We'll be doing some, I guess, film analysis or more kind of scripted videos as well coming out soon as well. So I've got a series more like historical and biopic based about real events and films. So yes, thank you for watching. Welcome back. Welcome back to us. And thank you for watching.
Hey.
Boom. Cut. That's a wrap.
Let's hope to God that worked. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.